Right, we are back for the newest episode of Summoning Insight. And don't worry, I can already tell you I know the flavour of what this week's episode is going to be like. Normally, we actually do try to be the show. I guess in theory, shows like Power Spike do this as well on our network, where I always want it to be the idea that if you tune in each week, it's either what's going on roughly in league, but more importantly, it's like what happened in the big matches. You know, what's the narrative change going on? So normally we do spend a lot of time discussing the matches and the players, but the amount of drama that's in the hopper for this week is insane, Yamato. Like, we're going around the whole world of like the different regions, and in every region, there's just a different fan base. Like, I'm gonna ruin everything if I don't get exactly my way. Like, fucking hell. So like, I'm gonna try if I can to make it like vaguely in like chronological order or something, because I feel like the first thing that we actually have to discuss is, off the top of my head, I think it might actually be the weird thing. If you remember, this ties into a past episode. Obviously, on the past two episodes, we've discussed this BLG jungle change where they've taken Shadow from LGD, and then it's initially this honeymoon period's working like a motherfucker. It's looking great. They're like winning loads of their games again. They're looking good. He himself even's having pop-offs. And the joke is, Yamato, it's like everyone really did just forget this guy existed. Because you know the joke is, you probably saw it on Reddit even, there were people initially on those first games that were like, you mean the Mad Lion Shadow? There were actually people like that, bro. Some people thought he just had like a similar name or something. And it's why I always make that joke that, like, because the story in the West with Shadow goes like this. He was on Mad Lions. People forget he was actually a good player. He had like all those Smurf games on Lee Sin. They went to Worlds. That was the Worlds where infamously they completely bombed and were like a disgrace to the Western Europe, basically. And then the joke is a lot of people forget that, like, that's where he just like disappears into the background. Even though I'm sure he did actually, like, you know, the joke I always make is he just never came back home. He was just like, since he already was Chinese anyway, he was like, you know what, I'll just fucking stay. Yeah, it's like they always used to say, the Koreans famously, the fans say to them, if they fail at an event, they go, just swim home, don't bother coming back. Like, basically, like, the joke is that's almost what happened. And he did for real, just mill around China in like lower half and low ranked teams for years and years and years and years. Got this chance finally to get. Suddenly he gets in a BLG. He's carrying all these games. He's winning matches. And then all of a sudden, some fan, presumably because of that, by the way, like some salty fan, I'm going to guess maybe a rival fan or fan of some team that they beat, some fan basically has like reported him for having dual citizenship. Now, here's the thing. I didn't do a full Richard Lewis deep dive, because if you don't know, by the way, this is why no shithead Pokemon, I'm a guy with a French name, therefore I must do lead journalism. The reason why no esports journalist means anything to me, Yamato, is because they just like Google shit, and then like that Gemini AI is like, the laws in China, and then they just hope that's right. Richard Lewis, right, is so next level, Yamato. I'll tell you a very brief story. One time I went to his house when he used to live in Las Vegas about like 7-8 years ago. And when I was there, I was just there to, like, you know, spend a weekend there before I went to an event in LA and see Monty and do a bunch of stuff, right? And when I was there, you know, we were sitting watching his massive like 80-inch TV that he watched like the NFL on or whatever. And as we're sitting there, he has a bunch of stuff on his like coffee table, right? Like he had like a fucking box with some weed in and like a big thing. And he was like, oh yeah, Sam, his old producer, that Welsh guy, he's like, he left that there, you know, he was smoking it the whole time. And then next to that, he had like a massive stack of papers, almost like, you know, like a clerical thing of like, you know, like a thing with like, let's say like 40 printouts and like a staple on the top. And I was like, the fuck is this? It looked like a script or something. You're about to like, what the fuck is this? So I pick it up, and I'm not even trolling. The cover page is just like, LA County labor law, bi-regional. And I'm like, what? And I go, okay, why have you got this? And he goes, yeah, I'm almost finished reading it. And I'm like, what? And, you know, years ago, people won't even remember the story. Years and years ago, there was a really big streamer called Tifu who worked for FaZe Clan at the time. And what happened was there was a big scandal about 7-8 years ago where basically he'd like contacted a lawyer or something, and it was implied something like that the way that FaZe Clan like managed him, they'd sort of like overstepped the boundaries of how labor laws work. I think it was something to do with in California, if someone's technically like an independent contractor, like you don't pay them benefits and healthcare and stuff, you can't actually sort of like treat them like an employee and tell them stuff like, you go here on this day and do this thing. It's more like you just have to like set like the overall thing they do or something. It's some weird, again, this is why the laws, you have to read fucking massive papers about, it's super complicated, right? So my point anyway is, I haven't done that. So spoiler, I don't actually know the rules of Chinese immigration or whether you're allowed dual citizenship, but based on the things I've initially read, it appears that basically in China, if you are like a mainland Chinese citizen, in theory, you're not supposed to have a second citizenship somewhere else. And it's implied that as a result of that, they even, when people do go to other countries and somehow get a second citizenship or another passport, they basically don't report it to the Chinese people back home. And they just hope essentially it's never noticed. And in this case, by the way, as far as I can tell, if he didn't try to play in the Chinese League of Legends League, I don't think this guy ever would have been caught. Seems like he would have been fine, you know, coming into China where he wants to, because he'd have his original Chinese passport, I'm guessing. And then if he goes to Italy, I don't know if his family still lives there or what. In fact, we actually know very little about this player. Then presumably it was all okay. The problem here is when someone's reported him, it appears that even though, look, as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem like this is actually causing him a massive problem. It seems like he's still going to be able to play, and he's just going to be listed, I guess, as like an Italian import to the LPL, which is like, you know what? The joke is we should all just embrace the meme and be like, see, there is an EU player playing in the LPL. Like, and then if he wins like LPL, we'll make like some big deal. But anyway, as far as I can tell, this is actually not as big a drama as it initially seemed. Like, as far as I can tell, the main drama even was more the idea of like, is it a salty fan who's just mad that he won? And they were like, right, report him. Like, which sounds like what it is. What do you think of this story about? I don't even know. This one, I started with this one because I don't think it's that spicy. So I want to know what you think of this aspect.
I don't know. It just reminds me of like the usual bullshit. It's like when you're at the top, suddenly you have like these detectives just keeping your every move. They climb trees. They check what you eat. They find you in gyms. It's just a different life altogether. It's like I wish I knew more about the competitiveness of the fan bases because they are so much more like spread out. It's like in Korea, it's very, very T1 centric. They have basically the majority of market share. But in China, it's like when you have those sizes of fan base, like say rookie fan base, Jakob, whatever, what happens in the clashes? It's like,
especially because they move teams so often, mate. Like, that's the other thing. It's one thing if, like, I could understand someone being both an IG fan and a rookie fan. He was there for a long time. But I know what you mean. Like, I'll give you the obvious example. Is the weirdest thing about LPL for me is there is so much player movement that, like, when we do this Ascend Nirvana group, the thing that always is jarring to me when I look on the Leaguepedia or Liquipedia of Yamato is the orgs almost don't matter in LPL because the players just move. So the joke is like BLG used to be a nobody org when like Zika played their ages back in the day, but now they're one of the top orgs. So I know what you mean. My problem there is I know that Fnatic and G2 will always have fans. Plus they're always the top orgs. But for example, I do wonder like, does BLG have fans? Are they just night fans? Have they been fans? I know what you mean. It's really hard to get a sense because I know what you mean. In Korea, it's really obvious who the big fan bases are, who they're fans of. And I think the battle lines are pretty well drawn, but I know what you mean. I have a really hard time figuring out, like, does JDG have fans now Knight and Ruler left? Or did they not have fans? Were they fans of Kanavi? And that, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking hard to figure out, isn't it? I know what you mean.
That was tricky. I was reading, it's like, now maybe Shadow now in the off-season. Because like getting the work visa, I think should be pretty straightforward. But then that work visa belongs to the team and it's like tied to that. Maybe there's like off-season issues. There was also like a loophole.
Oh, wait a minute. That would be next level. Oh, Yamato, I figured it out.
What's up?
I figured it out. Are you ready for a classic American TV trope? The call was coming from inside the house. If it's true that this means he needs a work visa that ties him to the BLG org, so he can't just go elsewhere, bro, maybe one of their guys, like, hello, yes, I'd like to report someone not on the right visa, because then you've got trapped, bro. Because actually, along similar lines, I can tell you that is actually one of the problems that you do have in America, believe it or not, is if you ever have, I've had one, if you ever have a work visa, that, because it has to actually be attached to the company that's giving you the job, it does mean, even though in theory you'd hope they wouldn't, that actually means that company at that point in time can basically exploit you, because they can just be like, look, if I fire you tomorrow, I mean, by the way, America's is nuts. There's for real, by the way, is the second you're fired, you have something mad like 2 weeks to just get the fuck out the country. And if you haven't, you're just like illegally overstaying your visa at that point in time and you're in a lot of trouble. So, no, bro, I'm joking now. I don't actually think it was someone in BLG, but I'll tell you what, it would be a pretty like Machiavellian way to trap this guy in the org. And by the way, that would even be appropriate, Yamato. Think about that, taking a bit of... what they do is go, oh, hello, Shadow, Chinese player. We're going to take some of the advice of Machiavelli. You might appreciate him. Yeah, which one is it? Which are you? Are you a Sun Tzu guy or a Machiavelli guy? Shadow's like, oh, Machiavelli, never heard of him. The joke is, they are doing all that shit, Yamato. They're taking out like raw pasta and just breaking it, going, any reaction? He's like, no, I prefer noodles, glass noodles. Because, by the way, Do you actually know anything about Shadow? Because I have to say, he was actually a very quiet player when he was in Europe, man. I never felt like this guy had fanfare around him. Like, I actually know very little about this player, despite the fact I watched him play in LEC and I've watched him in LPL for years. Like, I know almost nothing about him, mate.
It was so short, like lived his stay in the LEC because it was like, oh, Peter Dunn found him.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
was like on the team with Orome, and then like they were the only team in Europe that beat G2 in a BO5. Like they during the COVID, there was like in Spring Split they beat them at the infamous Caps ADC Ziggs game where they couldn't kill the Nexus, and
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a crazy good Olaf game
Yep.
from Shadow. And then it was just that world stint that really just made them fall apart. And additionally, that they had Elioya waiting. Maybe if Elioya would come in year later, maybe he would still be in Europe. It's interesting how fragile some careers are. But due to like I was working the LEC, and then it was just Corona hit, and then we were doing everything remotely. And then I went over to Korea. So I've never had like interaction with him, but I'm trying to reach out to him. Maybe me and Dom can do like a Sackdown episode with him because it's
That'd
like
be cool.
it's very rare that we get to have someone that's been in both worlds and can
And
actually
he can,
tell us.
I'm assuming he can speak Mandarin, bro. So he must have the most unique actual like insight that he actually for real was an LEC player, but he also hasn't just like been in a LPL team and he was like, I don't know what they were saying. Like he presumably knows how it all works. I imagine he could give you some really good insight. That you should see if you can set that up, mate. It'd be really interesting.
I hope so. I hope so.
And here's the thing as well. I have to say, one of the other reasons why there's not much fanfare about that player, Yamato, and I actually think most fans probably don't even remember, and they probably in their brain just think it was El Yoya that was there the whole time because he kind of overwrote him the next year and won all those championships. I think the other part that would be interesting if he could do some sort of an interview is I know that in particular, Peter Dunn, who even though I do now do Best Damn League show with him, the LEC show, I was obviously talking to this guy over the years anyway. I've known him basically ever since he's been in LEC. And I remember he did say something back in the day that like there's some particular reason he matters. I don't know what it is, obviously, and I couldn't say if I did, but there's some reason that they also don't talk about why Shadow like magically left the Mad Lions and went to the LPL team. I think it was implied something like, I don't know, maybe he got like bombed out with the scene and he didn't want to play pro anymore, or I don't know what it is. It was almost implied like maybe he had like some sort of mental breakdown at that Worlds. That's why they did shit or something like that, you know. So I'd also like to know, like, does it like now that it's years later, because it is, by the way, we're talking like it's 5 years later, bro. Surely now we can sort of give some sort of PR explanation of what happened, you know, like whether it was like, you know, I had to find myself or it was too stressful at the time, or I just wanted to, maybe I didn't want to play with those stakes. I just wanted to be on a random team and just play for fun or whatever it might be. Because that's the other thing. Once this guy left, because he came off the bad Worlds, and when I was asking at the time, everyone was sort of like, oh, yeah, we can't talk about why though. I remember thinking, oh, well, this guy's done then. He's never coming back then. The idea years later, through some of the bad teams, he would get back on BLG. Because, by the way, we can obviously tie that to the bigger topic, which is he got on the team very similar to how Beishuan did, which is they're on the, like, beggars can't be choosers point of their career where, because they've waited until this fucking late in the spring and then now we're like early in the summer split. There's just not many options as to who you can sign at that point in time. You're not going to get like Kanavi come to your team then. He's already playing for someone like, so essentially it's one of those things where the opportunity, this is a great piece of advice in life. It's why people tell you, like, you don't just like sit around doing nothing and then get an opportunity to go, right, I better start working. No, you keep your fucking game tweaked and fresh so that when the opportunity comes like this, you might actually have a few Smurf games and suddenly you're in. Because, by the way, if this motherfucker now goes to Worlds and has like a deep playoff run, he'd probably just be in BLG next year, mate. Like, it's totally plausible. He might have turned his whole career around after being essentially in the wilderness.
Oh, definitely. It's like I had some fine moments, like even last split, there was like fine moments, but I didn't think much of him. It's crazy how some opportunities just appear because teams like implode. It's like it's very strange how, especially in competition, everything works because now Billy, like their biggest advantage is not only that things are working out with Shadow, but also the fact that AL is like falling apart completely. So now suddenly Billy just looked like a front runner and he can win his first split so deep into his career and suddenly everything is just rewritten. It's interesting how fragile things are and how just being ready. It's like it's an advice that I've given to players that have come to me with concerns about their teammates. Like, oh, I can't play with this guy, whatever. And it's like the advice I always give is like, you got to work in a way that eventually you reach a point where you're surrounded by people that work the same way as you. Uh, Sometimes it doesn't happen because you're unlucky. Sometimes you're lucky and it happens faster, but you got to increase your odds, you know? It's like luck is where opportunity and preparation meets. You just got to push.
Yes.
And then it's like in the end, if you are surrounded by shit teammates, you know, maybe that's on you too, you know? Except Rookie. Rookie bears no faults. for his career choices.
Listen, all I'm going to say is so far, look, I'll also give congrats. This is one of the rare times I'll reach across the aisle and give the olive branch to Faker fans. Tell you what, if you're Faker and Rookie fans, we're all fucking sitting pretty, mate. Where's all our scandals? We're just fucking, our players are just ballers who just go on the server and fucking bang it out like, yeah, there's no drama. Just fucking, you know. I'll even say, actually, to be fair, I even do think, look, we'll get later to the T1 drama, but one thing I've actually been even mildly actually impressed with people like Faker is he never seemed like he ever tried to stir the drama. Do you know what I mean? He could, that guy, by the way, if he had a bad attitude, could have insane impact on the esports industry. Like, imagine if he just did the old thing, which, by the way, he could do at any moment in time. You just do the old classic English king move of like, who will rid me of this troublesome priest? Like, if you just complain in the right way, your fan base would go fucking nuts and they'd go, yes, sir. And they just go and do what they think you want them to do. But anyway, there is another drama, though, that is way spicier about the LPL that we'll now address, which is right in the midst, Yamato. Right, here's the difference. The Shadow one, like I say, seems like from the outside it's fairly straightforward. A fan, probably of the other, one of the rival teams that beat them. You know what, mate? Maybe it's even actually a fan of LGD. He's just salty that, like, or FPX or one of these teams. They're just salty that this guy doesn't play for them anymore. Who the fuck knows what it's based on? But someone's reported him. It seems like he's still going to be allowed to play. Okay, there was a minor little drama, but it hasn't seemed like it's nothing massive. It doesn't seem like it's going to affect the team. The bigger drama is right at the exact moment when anyone's legend and having all these problems. Don't worry, we will definitely get into the IG series, which literally gave all faith restored. They're going to semis of Worlds. You might, I hope you understand this. It's going to be Faker against Rookie at Worlds. It's happening. You know it. But we'll get to that later. The key thing is, right in amongst anyone's legend coming back and having all these problems getting their shape together, they then have a ridiculous, massive drama, which at least tangentially centers around Shanks, their mid laner, who, again, by the way, this is a player where, to contrast with the Faker Rookie example we just gave, he hasn't been around that long. He's only just got to the top now. He's a champion finally. He's having all these international results. And now he has a stupid scandal like this where basically, here's the problem with this drama, if people don't know. Basically, online, there was some sort of a drama with a girl where a bunch of pro players were going back and forwards with this girl. And look, I will say, I actually did read more than the initial threads. There were some things where there were times when it seemed like she was fucking with them and saying rude things to them, etc. But the problem basically is, Shanks, Icon, the old IG fucking mid lane, if you remember back in the day, I think it was IG he played for. OMG, I know he was on at one point in time. So he was on a bunch of different squads. That guy and another pro player, but some of them aren't as famous anymore, unfortunately. And then Shanks as well, basically said a bunch of comments about this girl. Now, I will say the Shanks one seemed more like, I had the vibe from him, Yamato, if you get the archetype of like, you know, the kid where it's like on their own, they probably wouldn't say something harsh, but if they're at school and they're in the group of bad kids and then, you know, the really bad kid says something, they might like join in to seem like cool, like, oh yeah, and then this thing here, like, but maybe on their own they wouldn't. I got that vibe more from Shanks because his thing was a bit milder. Some of the others were saying some wild shit though, like some of them were basically just openly on their stream or on Weibo and stuff, just saying shit like, back in the day, we would beat you with sticks or some like mental shit like that about this girl, and making like, put it this way, let's just say in China, some of these people have a very different perspective on like, let's say like sex work and stuff like. They were just basically calling this woman like a prostitute or something fucking wild like that. And so essentially, there's two areas I want to get into this. One is, obviously, it's kind of mad because the idea of people who are actually pros or any time were pros are saying this publicly is a bit shocking. You would think this would be like, because there's the thing about it. It'd be one thing if this was like a leaked, you know, WhatsApp group that people were in where everyone's saying edgy shit and it's like people are posting jokes for the boys and it's taking out. Some of this stuff was said publicly. I will say some of them technically were on like alt accounts, but there were ones that apparently were like very easy to connect to their original account and figure out who it was. So there's that aspect, but then there's also the bigger aspect that it's not just what they've said that's offended people. One thing we can branch into in a second maybe is it feels like this has been a really harsh reality check for a lot of those like parasocial fans who treat all the players like they're cuddly little baby nephew kids. Like, oh, it's just cutesy. And then it turns out actually maybe that player has wild opinions about women, mate, or maybe he would call you a prostitute if you said the wrong thing to him. So what? Obviously, this is a big topic. Where do we get into this one? What was your thoughts when you saw this, mate? I almost didn't believe it was real when I saw the first comments. I was like, really? Holy shit. Like, is this the right account? Have they checked it's them? Like, this is some wild stuff they were saying.
I would say it's always like my first initial reaction, because it's like we hear things coming out of what's going on Weibo and like the streams and so forth. And it's like, you're getting it through a translation and so forth. But the amount of things that came out surrounding this and the translation and the rally behind it is it's like clear as day. You know, it's super clear as day. And the main thing for me is the fact that I do think that like how Shanks was talking was very misogynistic, and then they were doing it in the group. Like Icon at one point just straight up like threatened to kill her.
Fucking hell, yeah. I need to see
he basically like wrote. He just said like, "What's your address? I'm gonna send someone to kill you." Like to do that with your own account. Like first to do that is insane, but then you did it with your own account and all these things. It's like how big of an ego do you have to pull that off? And then Shanks continued was like, "Oh, Icon just wants to date you. Give him your address. He really likes your voice." It's like really like, it's like really disgusting. And I think the uproar, if anything, I can understand it because it seems like certain behaviors, especially in the LPL, it seems like players just get away with shit. And I think the frustration of that is understandable because the amount of stories you heard that are getting leaked, I don't know which one is true and not because I'm not inside of it, but I understand why people are fucking angry to the point where it's like we need to set an example of some sort here because, you know, the of course the responsibility of setting an example and behaving appropriately, I think, is something that a pro player should carry. And if let's say pro players just get away with being like I'm sure you have plenty of stories from like earlier seasons. Some of the shit that I heard from earlier seasons about what pro players do and what they were doing in from coming out of China, like those are crazy. But for me in particular, there was just stories. So I didn't know what the fuck to do with that. But it's like when I hear stories coming from left and right, time and time again, you kind of see trends in behavior. And I think that in terms of that responsibility and the uproar, I think that's extremely understandable because I think this type of shitty behavior is extremely disappointing. The other guys like LP, SMLZ, they're not fucking playing anymore. He is like winning and is on the top team.
Is something I hate about this Yamato. Right? I also hate this because I also want to just tell Shanks, like, mate, look at this bad group of friends you've got. Like, they're all retired, mate. They don't actually have like a reputation to ruin in that sense, but they're almost like egging you on to get involved in some drama right at the beginning of your peak, your career. Like, this is actually this is the entourage you need to get rid of, mate. Like, these people are going to drag you the fuck down. Because like I say, he was saying some stupid shit himself, but his stuff always seemed like it came in, like I say, you know what I mean? It came in the wake of the other people saying stuff. So it's like he was trying to like join in and be edgy or some shit. And even though, by the way, that's totally unacceptable shit you're saying. And then also, I know what you mean. I always have got this weird vibe. This is where actually people try to make like Asia one thing and it isn't. It's not a monolith like that. Like Chinese culture definitely is different from Korean culture. The difference is, put it this way, you've been to Busan, right, in Korea? You've been to the like, if you ever go there, I don't know if you saw this, but even when you're walking along the beach, because it's all like a beach area, if people don't know, it's like the main attraction of Busan is a beach. There are these like, they literally have their own red light district, if you don't know. They have like an oath, literal red lights that are like a bunch of apartments along the front of the beach. And that the idea is if you go there, it's like a bathhouse or something, or like a prostitute's there or something. And what I was told basically was like, oh, what people do in Korea is you just don't acknowledge that exists. That's something like, no one would openly be talking about it if we're going there. It's more the sort of thing like privately, if people do that thing, they do it, but it's shameful. You don't talk about it publicly. It's something that's done separately. I've actually heard it similar in Germany with the brothels, so people don't know. Everyone knows where they are. It's just not something you say like, yeah, I'm going there on the weekend. Like, if you do it, you do it, but you have a sense essentially of like decorum, of like, you don't tell everyone I'm doing shit like that. That's some private shit that I chose to do for whatever reason, right? That's the vibe I always got in Korea. Like, people will do some shady stuff or get in some drama, but they actually understand, like, you don't ever want this to come out publicly. What shocks me about this story is how brazen these guys are publicly about this topic. Like I say, this wasn't someone's WhatsApp group with the boys that got leaked to you about. This is like, the reason I find it wild is when you're saying that, what it reminded me of is, I have always thought one of the worst things about how incredibly huge football is in the UK, particularly the Premier League, is, mate, there are so many stories like this in the Premier League, I can tell you, of football players. Mainly it tends to be stuff like beating someone up in a pub, or the classic one as well is you drive your car too fast on the road and you're speeding because you have like a Lamborghini or something. Or another one, you might remember this happened to Suarez, it happened to loads of Liverpool players actually, the one where a fan drives next to you and he goes like, hey, whatever, and it's like late at night, and then you spit at his. That's a classic one, by the way. Like he says something to you, and yeah, he might have said something mean, but then you like spit out your window at him. That's happened a bunch of times. And the reason I bring this up is because they always seem to get away with it, Yamato, because it is like the biggest sport in the whole country, and these people are worth millions and millions. Put it this way: when they get in a bar fight where someone does get, his arm broken or his head smashed in, they magically never seem to miss the next game. You know what I mean? They don't seem to go to prison for 2 weeks or suddenly be out of committee like me or you would if we got in the same scenario. There's a feeling of sort of like they just get to, they're different than the rest of us. They get to walk up here and we're just little minions. This almost implies by the attitude of these LPL players, they think that applies to them. They think like, hey, I'm some shit hot player, mate. I'm with it. I can say whatever I want. And it's like, you can't, mate. And especially not in this case, because I wanted to tie this to a bigger topic. Since later we'll talk about some of the T1 fans and the Korean fans, which people might know are probably the most famous example of like people who are really parasocially connected to their team, where they don't just talk about them like, here's the difference, Yamato. If I get like emotional talking about Lucky getting screwed on his teammates, I still mean in like a game sense. Like I want the player who plays in the server to accomplish great things. I often think when a lot of the fans talk about some of the Korean players, for example, they almost think of that player like it was their older brother or something, and they're like really personally connected to what happens to him and if it's unfair or whatever. Well, the reason I bring this up is I actually think a lot of Westerners who haven't followed those girls who do all the translations, so they don't know what players say over in China, they try to do a lot of what I see as like T1 fan behavior, where basically you almost treat the pro player like he was a cute little kid, like it was your little nephew or something. Like Guma's just like, the one with all the energy, and he's got like that fucking cool smile. Kerry is the little awkward one who's the little nerd who's really good, smart and stuff. They do that, but what they forget is these are adult men, and in certain cases, like I don't want to go as far as to imply they're like incels as well, but I will say a lot of them have just spent most of their adult life just sitting playing, not even just video games, one video game. They just sat playing League of Legends like 14 hours a day. That's all they've done. So as a result, I always tell people this. Where do you think they get it's why I've always said Double If to me always still talks like a 16-year-old, because he spent so much of his life in the game. He didn't have as much time to socialize. Like he didn't have an office job. He didn't go and backpack through Europe for a year and find him. He didn't do any of these things. He just played video games since he was about like 19 until, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. He just played the same game. So unfortunately, I think people also are finding out the shocking reality that you might want to imagine how that person is, but the reality could be really extreme the other way. Like some of these guys are just really like hardcore young men who, some of them, quite frankly, to be kind, I'd say they're misguided, Some of them actually just seem like they've got pretty fucked up perspective on life. Like some of them have gone down a dark path, mate.
It's as an additional layer. It's not only that they go into esports at an impressionable age. It's like dealing with levels of fame and money.
Oh, true,
it's
yeah,
like
sure.
dealing with these things at the same time. Yeah. Like there are definitely like risks.
Oh, I forgot that as well, Yamato. There's another thing. If you happen to come from a really poor family in Korea or China, you could suddenly be like way above your pay grade. Yeah, you could be making loads more money. You might think you're a superstar. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the parasocial aspect of it all is like, I think obviously if something like this came out about our boy Rookie, I would be fucking disappointed. I would be pissed.
Absolutely.
But I think the level of parasocial, like how far you go, I think is always the thing. It's like you gotta just treat your idols like fucking, it's the same you would treat a character from Game of Thrones. It's like it's not really real. It's not. This is a very curated image. It's like I always reference back to. It's like I followed like the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef really, really much, and I always said that the biggest advantage Kendrick had is the fact that he's just not on any social media, doesn't do anything. He only speaks through the music, so he can really, really alter the image of himself through his music, while Drake did the opposite. Like he shows up on Aiden Ross's stream, on XQ2's stream. His Instagram always liking posts. He's always like really, really being out there, so everyone can like go through a fine-tooth comb, like with everything, just look at every detail. Oh, this interaction he did was weird. What he said here was really awkward. What the fuck was that? Like, this is very questionable. And that ties into all of these things that are being launched at him as attacks to become a lot more credible. But even if, like, I don't know, even in that sense, I don't know who the fuck Kendrick is as a person, even though he's my favorite artist. I will never get to the point where I say he's a great person. Like, I love his music. I love the image that he has portrayed at the current time, but I don't know what's going to come out. You know, it was the same. I guess a better example is like Kanye West. It's like everyone said, it's like, but he made graduation. It's like some of the shit Kanye West has said over the last 6 years. It's like Kanye West died to me 2019. Like it becomes inseparable at some point. So I think it's just degrees. I think there's a sense of entertainment and enjoyment in like rooting for the person too, but making sure that you know, you keep yourself tied to the ground and realizing that you know, this can be a shitty person, because I think that's something that just appears in any fan base as well. You know, when it becomes big enough, your hero can't be like can't do any wrong, and you begin to argue for everything that he did, why there was a reason. Like I stumbled into this random subreddit. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically Ronaldo fans just talking shit on everything that Messi has ever done and ever did and ever done. And so it's just posts. It's like basically like a community, like 50,000 people. All they do is just break down.
50,000.
It's like, what on earth is this? You know, it's like a fan base. It becomes so big, they start to have divisions. It's like, this is the attack division, this is the defensive division, this is the division of communication. It becomes like a nation almost. It's weird how it tends to, not weird, but it's like, it's funny how that same sentiment just builds and is created within any community that just becomes large enough. Because in my experience, Reddit is at its peak when there's like 5,000 people. You read that it's about some niche topic. You have like some people sharing stories about what they do, and then it becomes big, and then it's just, you know?
Oh, mate, one thing I think so sad is we all do it because we're coming from a giant sort of like League of Legends where there's loads of fucking idiots that really do just comment on the headline, or they didn't watch the game, or they're going off like a rookie narrative from like 8 years ago or something like that, or the chalky ones, right? We all talk shit on Reddit. I know what you mean, though. It is all about like the threshold, Yamato. It's once you get too many casuals and idiots, it gets out of control. It becomes like mob behavior. Because I know what you mean. I actually still to this day follow some really small subreddits that are for like, you know, some niche prog rock band or electronic artist that hasn't put out an album in 15 years. And the difference is, Yamato, because those subreddits are like fairly dead, or they have a very small amount of people who follow them, who are just like real fans, you don't get any of the drama in there, mate. You don't have like constant witch hunts or people like, yeah, the fucking new album sucked, we shouldn't be fans of this group. And it's just all like chill people who are like, oh, cool, there's something new out, oh, I'll check it out. I know what you mean, though. Once there is like a sweet spot. I think you're right. It is like a few thousand. Once you get over a few thousand, it feels like people go mad.
Just to add as well, I like, my theory is that when it goes beyond, it's like when you reach those smaller communities, it's usually for the right reason. But then it gets to the point where there is credibility to earn within a community.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like usually it's like you always have like within fan communities like that usual, you know, Twitter account that shows up and is always doing the posts, and suddenly they gain something. You know, you get social credibility, they get a voice, they get louder, there's something to contest for, and then suddenly it seems like the intention is no longer, oh, I just want to enjoy this you know, this niche card game I found, and this is the community in it. You know, it just becomes like, oh, there is a lot of attention to be gained here, I'm going to fight for it, and I'm going to do it in ways that are deeply like irrational and just use strategy to win, you know, like voice points almost. Yeah.
Anyway, as far as I can tell, there's nothing aside from fans being really disappointed, understandably so, by the way. Who wants to find this out about your favorite player? Or especially, like I say, in the case of Shanks, like the biggest fuck up about this is you've done it right when, like I say, every other thing was like a tick for your career. It was like, yeah, well done, you're passing, like you're becoming a star. Remember, you're even an actual Chinese player. You're not even some like foreign Korean player. You're a Chinese mid laner, bro. Just like Knight, you now have the real expectation. You might be the first Chinese mid to ever win Worlds. That could be huge. You could become, if you'd play cards right, one of the most popular players to ever play League of Legends. Think about how huge the Chinese fan base is. And obviously, understandably, they care more about Chinese players than foreign players. So like everything was going perfect for you. You were almost having like one of the best rookie, not truly rookie, but like at the top level, like champion level first years to be on top. And now you've done this stupid scandal where at a minimum, this will be referenced as like a meme. People will figure out some like fucking line they remember from someone saying some shit, or so it's just sad, isn't it? Like what a stupid, it's just so necessary as well. But that's the other thing I would say. The other keyword to me is so necessary. Like this wasn't like some real world person who'd done something to you where you had to get back at them or whatever. You've just gone out your way to make yourself just look like an idiot. You just look
It's
like
like
a
at
fucking
6
idiot.
a.m. as well. It's like 6 a.m. day before match. Like,
I think it was before
what
the
on
match
earth
as
are you
well.
doing?
Exactly, because there's the other thing, Yamato. I think actually, wasn't this actually right before the IG match? I think it was, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It's like, well, what do you do with your life? 6 a.m. you're doing this shit. Like, I believe he's getting fined 3 months' salary by the organization. So the organization like showcased like that. Oh, this is behavior that we don't stand by. I think the main thing that people want to push for, right, is the fact that, especially with the consistencies of punishments across
Oh, they're all
like
over the
other
place, the
regions.
LPL, yeah.
It's like in LPL is very inconsistent. It's like, the match fixing. I do the bunny fingers because it's very vague and gray in terms of what players have done and what they are forced to do. But I guess a similar instance of like Klid being like very, very like misogynistic in his messaging to, and it was leaked and came out, and he just got fucking insta headshot because it's just there's no tolerance for that. It's like if this happened, for example, in Korea or like in Europe or in any other region, it would be like your career, you would be done. So it's hard to speak deeper for me because I don't know what the culture that is set in the LPL and in China in specific in this context and what the online scene is. But I think this is very, very bad behavior, and I understand why the fandom would like LPL to also step in to kind of set a precedent. It's like, what is our standard? Are you just going to let this happen, let this be? Are you a part of it? Because usually investigations happen from Riot side, but of course, in terms of how everything is run in the LPL, is very, very different. Because even if it would be symbolic, it's like he is suspended for 2 series, and maybe it hurts the chances, whatever. But it's like at least they took a stance. It's like this is showing that this is not acceptable because. Who knows? Maybe more shit's going to happen. Maybe other players are going to do something. Like, who knows? What is the standard of behavior you expect from pro players across the board in the league?
Because no, the most crazy thing as well is, like, he's also done this right at the time when Cause Anyone's Legend came back for the international break. They're still the team that to this day has not regained their top form. Look, when we talk in a minute about LCK, GENG's back, mate. Like, that's all fine. It seems like finally the Korean teams have stabilised. Anyone's Legend not only still isn't back, but he's added this drama in. And then right after that, they've even actually had what's one of the more shocking upsets, which is it's one thing to just lose in a drop game. Bro, they just straight up got beaten by IG. Like, if it wasn't for this drama and the whole international thing, in theory, if you're an IG fan, this is the best result you could ever imagine. Like, first of all, this was not the sort of team IG ever beat before, Yamato. Like, they could beat, maybe they could have beat a BLG or someone that play a bit more loose, Anyone's Legend would just be too good in macro, their jungle would be too good. So the idea that you actually just straight up 2-0 them, that's fucking shocking. Like, I can tell you, I did the bet on IG, but I only did it because they had like crazy odds, I think it was like 3-1 or something. Like, this result, like, was not expected from me, mate. I have, people don't know, off camera, I have reasonable expectations for Rookie and IG. It's more like be the 3rd or 4th team and just go to Worlds. If you can just do that, I think that's enough for now. Mate, this result actually implies maybe you can even be in the finals. Like, this was a fucking big game. And also, if you want to go on the IG side a little bit, mate, the guy who this split, it's just something just changed about him. It's fucking Gala, mate. He gets like a pentakill every fucking game now. Like, what is this? Like, he actually's gone he's gone from being like what looked like a semi-washed player this year to like back in his peak or something. This is crazy. What do you think of this IG result?
No, I'm just to follow up on that. It's like it's Gala and also like Mako is back. I feel like Mako is back. It's just Mako is the one that I had the biggest problems with throughout this year. I'm like, we were talking about it, on the show. We're like, is Mako just done? It's like this. It's like he had a good year on top esports if you look at like the overall volume outside of the final BO5s with top esports, but. And then it's like Mako and the GOAT conversation, so forth. It would be like such a horrible, end if he finally, Rookie gets to work with a support that is good and he gets Gala and so forth. And then it was that's how it ends now for Mako, because Mako, like there was things that would happen for certain every game with Mako in it, and they were all negative things. It was like he would get caught in this spot every game at least twice. It would just happen. And then the way he played range support, he was like overreach, his fights, his mechanics weren't there. But now Gala and Mako, it's like in terms of bot lanes in Europe, it's like, in LPL, sorry, I'm still stuck on Italy. They are just playing really, really well. I have nothing, to ask more from them. It's like the weakest performer here is on this team, I feel like is Way, but he's like finding his footing, he's doing his is doing his part. I think it's like, okay, but everyone else is consistent. IG consistent? 2 words? I've never strung them together before.
They're definitely a different team. Like, first of all, the reason why I think we're all cool with the way Angle, he's not even playing that well, is because we're just hoping at this point in time that, like, it's not that he's doing something, but like whatever he's doing just seems to work better with Mako. That's the Corp. It kind of is. Like Mako and JJ just never got on the same page, mate. It just never happened. Something bizarre. Even though, as far as I can tell, JJ is a better player than we, in my opinion. But it doesn't matter. There's something stylistically or comms-wise or something. It does seem like throwing Way in there somehow was like resurrected Mako from EDG. So that's good news. And then there's also the other angle as well to me, which is, bro, the craziest one of all, easily, is notice how many weeks we've talked about IG winning games or looking better, and we almost barely talk about the Shy. Mate, something's changed about this guy too. Like, he's actually playing like somewhat let me think how to phrase this. Responsible League of Legends. The thing that, by the way, of all the players in the history of League of Legends, I would have said the Shy was like the best, most irresponsible player of League of Legends ever. And not only that, he plays fucking top lane, mate. The role where, in theory, as everyone who followed Summoning Insight from the beginning knows, is from 2014 onwards, you couldn't really only play carries, mate. Like, if you could, my boy Flame would probably still be playing to this day, wouldn't he? But guess what? The game changed for top laner. It became like, can you weak side? Can you just be a bruiser and not have any jungle attention? Can you just wait and do the TP at the right time? The Shy seemed, quite frankly, I don't blame people like Dom 2 years ago with it. Like, he's just done. He's just going to be this guy who has the odd carry game, but he hints the other 2 out of 3 games, and you'll never win with a guy like that. Mate, he's actually somewhat sort of like fucking put his dick back in his pants now. Like, he's playing like, he's playing good league, but he's also not doing those crazy int games where you just throw the game in the bin. I don't know what changed about this guy either, mate, but it's weird. It's a very welcome fucking, as someone who didn't like, so here's the difference. I loved the Shy when he was at his peak, Yamato, but don't worry, there was definitely a year or a couple of splits where this motherfucker was the one hinting rookie in the regionals and shit like that. So I've had my own times where he's been a problem child for me. I have no problem with this, the Shy, mate. He just seems like fucking good player. He sort of fixed it somehow. I don't know how.
And I have it etched in my mind how he started this year. That series when he played the tank Jax. With the tier, and then the Archangel Karma. Like that was how he started. I was like, all right, rookie's just doomed. It's like in my world, it's like how I saw things happening was like after rookie, they fell short against NIP, in the BO5, and then like rookie was like crying with his face in his palm, and then like the Shy just walked over to him and gave him, like, didn't say a word because the Shy never talks. For me, doesn't have a voice. He never speaks in my mind. And he just came over to him and gave him the classic the Shy smile. And then he started playing solo queue, started try-harding again. And all he needed, those 3 years they played together, or 4 years, those 3 years where he just didn't care and int, all he needed to see was rookie crying. And now he cares again. He just hit the right button.
I also do low-key wonder if you're rookie, listen, I would argue one of the things, like if you're someone who's a Faker fan, that you could say about rookie that is a fair point, is he might have mismanaged his career with some of the decisions he made. Like maybe he should have, if he really, here's the thing, he's done the same mistake, I think, in his career that a player in Counter-Strike called Nico did, which is that Nico, in theory, could, because he's like a player who can speak in English, he's a mega player, super talent, mega longevity. If he wanted, he could be the biggest like diva of all time. He could run all of his teams, mate. He could probably get teammates kicked. He could get anyone joined. But he's always maintained publicly that he never did that. And I've always said, but eventually that becomes its own mistake on the other end, which is you already did have a lot of power, whether you chose to wield it or not, that you could have exerted. And so, look, in the short term, if it's a debatable one, maybe you should let the coach figure out who joins the team or gets. But in the long run, if it's really fucking up the prime of your career, you probably should step in eventually and go, listen, mate, I can't play with this guy or get him out or get this guy in that I want. Well, similarly, right, if you're rookie, it looks to me like you really did do the hands off, like, hey, just pay me millions and I'll just play mid lane, mate. You figure out the roster, because some of those IG rosters were fucking criminal. Some of the junglers, some of the AD carries they had. There's certain positions that were just always scuffed. But if you reunite in IG years later and the Shy gets to come back, surely you at least had a minimum a meeting in a Bob, Yamato, where you went, look, Shy, do it fucking right this time if we do this. Otherwise, I'm not doing it at all. You surely don't walk back into this like, don't need a convo. I'm sure Lord's be fine. Like, surely you had the fucking come to Jesus moment where you were like, can I have one last year, Deshai? Can you just play normal top lane so I can see if I can go to Worlds one last time? Come on, bro. Come on.
I don't know. I just imagine the shy to be a person that like talking doesn't help. It just has to be like some catharsis, some crazy cathartic moment
For
where
you, basically, what he needs to do is the only way you get the shy is you have to actually go into like the fucking Mojave Desert with like a bunch of peyote, take it, and then when you have like the vision at night, then you have the heart to heart. Then when he's all juiced on psychedelics, right? That's how you do it. You have to go through like an emotional journey with him. I see. By the way, I don't know about you, but I always get the vibe from the shy for real, like those characters in fucking shonen anime, where there's always that character that's like the genius archetype, where they're like all arrogant and aloof, like maybe they're like a rich kid or something, but they're just like naturally like a 9 out of 10 at the game, like, oh, you fool, I will defeat you with ease. Like that's always the vibe I got from the shy, because you always felt like he really was the guy who believed at any moment he can just flip the switch and carry the game. And I tell you what, at his peak, I know why he thought that. There was times where that was kind of true. He could actually do that. The problem is he got abusive with it, didn't he? Come on. But anyway, the point is all to say, he isn't doing any of that this last 2 splits, especially on this split, mate. He's actually, the solo lanes of IG is one of the more like reliable solo lane groups in the LPL right now, mate. This team's sort of cooking. Like, if you look at the league, realistically, anyone's legend, by the way, let's get to them in a second. They're still in trouble, mate. At the moment, they could lose against about 10 teams right now. It's crazy. Then you've got like BLG looks pretty good. IG's sort of on the rise a bit. Aside from that, mate, TES sometimes flip a coin, sometimes they look awesome, the LPL is really hard to get a read on right now. Like, actually, here's the obvious question, which I don't think anyone can answer. Who is the best team? Is it BLG? It might even be. It might even be BLG's the best now, right?
I think it kind of has to be, right? I think in terms of the results, I think they have landed in the place. It's like they haven't lost. It's like they are just winning.
Yeah, they're smurfing it.
And like the schedule is really weird because they like played against WE back to back. Like
that was a bit bizarre. Yeah.
That was very strange. But I think there is very little to complain about Bilibili. Sure, they have like their inconsistencies, but I see Bin playing the game again. It's like
that's true.
Finally, we get the payoff of the big investment into playing these champions that he's hasn't been good on. Like actually has like good performances on Robin now. He's playing the tanks. He's becoming less Bin and more like more well-rounded, which as a classic Bin fan is a little bit boring. But I understand why it is that way, because that's just where the meta has landed, and the fact that they're winning while that is happening. When the meta shift finally lands, like Ben is going to be ready for it, unless it's something that he never played in the past, because he just seems to learn champ so slowly. And Shadow has good games, he has bad games, but the most important thing is just that this Bilibili lineup now looks like they are making decisions together. Like Shadow, there are like snippets. Like obviously, I don't know the translation, but there are like snippets out of the comms, and Shadow is talking. He's peppering everything in terms of like calling in fights, in preparation for fights. So maybe it's just a question of like they needed just a very, very loud voice in the game because it seems to just be working. Like Shadow has a very clear role on the team and is not one of like Beishuan where he's just running around and just plugging holes that are presented to him. Shadow seems to be presenting some kind of a plan. And I think that was the main thing that was missing for me with Bilibili, is just that they could win team fights, they could win lanes, they could do things individually. Knight could pop off in a game, L could pop off in a game, but that was it. It's like it was just good individuals. But now you can see a red line in the decision making, and you can actually rationalize like, oh, they're doing this, they're looking to focus on that, they're setting up for the Drake, and I think that's the biggest difference, because I think there was never a point in time this year, even though Bilibili was underperforming, where we sat there and said, oh, these players are bad. It's like, no, these players are really, really good, and you just need to flip like the right switches, and things seem to be falling into place. And I do think a big, if AL was in good form, I do think that they would challenge a Bilibili. Top Esports have their own issues. I do think that Bilibili have rose to the occasion of the opportunity that is presented because of the state of the league, because a lot of the teams are going through really, really tough times right now.
No, the mad thing is, this is another example of why roster moves aren't really plus this person minus another. Because I always say, it's why in Counter-Strike, I don't do that thing where I talk about like teams as like just an org. I talk about specific 5-man lineups. Because I always say, you're not really just adding and removing a player when you make one roster move. What you're also sometimes doing, I might have to close my window a second because something's like reflecting off a fucking mirror into my eyes. Right, basically, one of the other changes is what are the effects on the other players from that player leaving or joining. And BLG also looks like another teammate where the knock-on effect isn't just how do Shadow and fucking Way compare as like junglers. It looks to me like, I'll tell you an obvious one. Like, as you say, first of all, Bin just looks way better now that Shadow's here. He's had a bunch of games where he's looked like old Bin. But also, I actually think even On looks way better, mate. Like, suddenly he's like getting all sorts of fucking sick players off. Like, that's the player everyone wants to hype every time you go to Worlds and say it's one of the best in the world. But the others, if you think about it, like Knight already was really good. He was there the whole time. I think Elt's still just a whatever. But if you look at the squad, no, in general, like it's not just one player, mate. There's a big change up. I'm just going to quickly close my window. Anyway, tell you what, I'll set you up. Why don't we talk about if someone wanted, for example, to do some sort of e-commerce, Yamato? Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, that's a good angle. You know, it's like me and my homies. Go close your window, Thor. It's so good. Me and my homies. You know, I'm currently in Sweden, and the last time we talked about Shopify, I also made the same thing. And you know, we always get together with the bros, and you speak business ideas. And usually those conversations they don't come to fruition because it's always like, oh, we should start doing this. We should start a company. We should do something like that. And then that's the end. You know, people go home, people sleep, and then people forget that conversation as if it never happened. But I think that's the main blocker for most people is, of course, how daunting and overwhelming it feels. And that's where Shopify just comes in. They streamline everything for you in terms of managing your taxes or your accounting or building up your website and, you know, using the hundreds of ready-to-use templates that look pretty damn good too. You can make a store that is very presentable and you can easily just design it to your liking, which I think is a really big deal. It's like making your own pages and paying for that is very expensive work. And marketing is also a hell of a thing in terms of, you know, like, are you going to have a marketing team behind you? You know, Shopify basically lets you run a company with all the benefits of having a large company, but still keeping it small, making sure the costs are, of course, slim and easy. So I mentioned, of course, the design part, but you can easily create, you know, emails and social media campaigns, whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling through Shopify. Another part, like I remember in the past when I tried to like set up like a coaching website. In the end, I just kind of gave up and said, "Here's my email, write me." You know, that's how I was like, "This is too difficult," because the payment processing is also a pain in the ass to set that up, and in terms of making sure that you know, in terms of like managing it properly, because there's a lot of elements to it in terms of like managing returns or managing, you know, the tax portion of it. There's a lot of details that need to be done right if you want to, of course, scale. And Shopify streamlines that super well. So if you're ready to sell, you're of course ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into, of course, cash with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/summoning. Go to shopify.com/summoning and just make your dreams come true. You know, it's like a lot of people have great ideas, but there's not enough people that are willing to pursue those ideas. So use Shopify to become independent and free yourself from that shitty boss that annoys you at 8 a.m. and make your own business idea come true. Solve the world's problems one at a time. Use Shopify to contribute more. Go for it. It'd be silly if you're not. Just use the trial. Come on.
Shout out anyone who uses Shopify. Thanks to Shopify for sponsoring the episode. By the way, tomorrow, Anyone's Legend plays another game against BLG. I've got to say, Yamato, look, they have still got just over 2 weeks before the end of the regular splits. There's still plenty of time to work yourself back into shape, etc. But I have to say, right now, it's actually quite alarming, mate, because the way that they're playing at the moment, look, as someone who remembers the famous MSI fucking hangover that everyone used to get in Europe, like after every single MSI for the first 2 weeks, I always expect you to have a little bit of wear and tear when you come back for the international tournament. But this still, it hasn't stopped yet, Yamato. Like right now, I have to say, as of this moment, like I wouldn't bet on Anyone's Legend to win the LPL. Like they just look like, what's so weird is it's not even just like that. Here's the thing, they still win series, but it's such hard work, mate. This team used to be so clinical for me before this. Like, I thought they were easily the best LPL team before. Like, they were just like levels above. Now it's a mess, these games, mate. And they just can't have like good games back to back to back. Like, they can have one good game and then suddenly the next game's terrible. And also, before, this was the only team. Like, top esports could kill anyone, but they'd also randomly lose a series. This team would only lose to like a top esports, mate. They'd never lose to a lesser team. Mate, the amount of teams that have taken this team to 3 games or even beat them is crazy now. It's something happened to this squad. The same squad never arrived back in China, mate.
And in my mind, the main thing that is insanely concerning is the fact that the early series, you could still see the signs of like how good they are, how connected they are. Usually the mistakes came from like individual misplays. Like the skeleton and the foundation of how they played together was still there. And then there was like Flounder overreaching, Hope maybe misjudging a situation on Kaiser. It was like, okay, this is something that just comes because they didn't probably have like as intense of a schedule, because Tabo was always saying public, is like, oh, we scrim 3 times a day, solo queue, and then in between they rest, and we don't take break days. We just want to, of course, win, 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 win. And our best idea to do so is to just grind our ass off. And that has been like the LPL method for the longest time. Like even when I worked with Stake, when we were underperforming on Casey, he was like, how high rank can the players get? I was like, oh, maybe this guy can get challenger, this guy get challenger, maybe this guy GM max. And then it's like, when teams, he told me, when you play bad, play more. So LPL will just grind their way out of any problem. But now it seems to be for AL, the way I interpret it, is as of that intensity of the schedule is something that they relied on, but something that they can't do as efficiently now because they're fatigued. That's how it comes across, because there's been a dip of performance time and time again. I think the only player really that is playing well is like Tarzan. I mean, Tarzan looks very, very lonely on this team. He seems to, in cases where he needs to do more, sometimes he overreaches because he seems to slowly get into the state of mind that he's borderline elo held on this team. But the mechanical mistakes I see from Flandre, Shanks, and Hope, and so forth, they are becoming staggering. And in that process, they're also losing, the foundation of what made them successful. In the first 2 weeks, the trajectory of GENG and AL look very similar in terms of how they're regaining their shape. But AL has steadily gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think that IG series was definitely one that was like shockingly bad. Because it's like IG had a solid game, but I didn't think that IG did anything like spectacular to win. It was just like they played the game, stacked the dragons, grouped around Atakan, and AL really gained 0 traction in those games. And it's also like in a question of the meta read, they seem to also be a little bit behind, and I don't know where they go from here. Like especially with the situation with Shanks that we mentioned before, I don't know how much that impacts, how much of course that plays a part in the conversation, what's happening internally. My read, which is of course with very limited information, is that reliance on in high intensity, and then when now they don't have the energy to set that intensity the same way, they are underperforming individually. Finding a balance between that is always a very, very tough act, because in the end, a lot of these players, they reach their peaks this year. And consolidating that and finding consistency in that over longer periods of time is always the biggest test. We've seen many players be great for one split, and then they are not for a longer period. And how you land and how you manage yourself is something that you figure out over time. And this schedule is new for all of those guys, and it was always a concern of ours on this show. It's like, how will AL continuously hold on, and how they played at EWC. I think that's the most surprising part, because EWC they looked better than they did at MSI, and it was like a clear ramp up. But maybe the schedule just started way too soon for them, because they didn't get the grace period.
I'll give you one angle that maybe people haven't thought of. It's actually an angle that I'll give credit. It was suggested to me by Keyray from my Discord and Hot Take Point made League of Legends edition, which is coming out in a day or two, and obviously does Euro League with Rich's Wrath and all that jazz. One point he made was that, remember, Anyone's Legend is a Tarbay team, and Tarbay teams in the past sometimes have burned out. Like, if you remember, he was on the Yagao BLG the same year JDG was the best team, and even though JDG was the best team, they actually set on BLG the single season record for wins. But if you remember, they didn't even make the final. That was the one where LNG overtook them and suddenly was in the final, and they weren't even contending for the championship. And one detail I'll add in is, one, that suggests to me, because it's implied Tabe teams grind like a motherfucker. Well, remember Yamato, because he's often been on second and third best teams, he hasn't been in this position to be the guy. Look, when he was like on RNG or whatever, he was like a fucking assistant coach or something. You know, he wasn't like the main head coach. He's now gone to these 2 international tournaments in a row, and I agree. I thought they looked awesome at both, but I actually thought they looked even better at EWC. That looked like the one where they really could have won the whole tournament, and obviously they beat 2 of the Korean teams. So I think the sad thing is, I could easily imagine at those 2 tournaments, bro, when you're at the tournament, you do play as if it was Worlds. You play as if there's nothing else exists in the world. You're just trying to win that trophy. You kill yourself. That means that even as the coach, you're probably burning yourself out. You're up all night watching VODs, trying to find some angle, talking to your remote analyst, trying to find some secret tech, you know, and then you do that for 2 weeks. By the way, you're in the final of both. You're in game 5, well, you weren't in the final of the MSI, but you were like game 5 against all the top teams. You're going about as deep as you can. Then you come home, and the problem is there's no break. It's like right back into the LPL. And in fact, because the LPL format is, there's no weak teams, even the other teams, because you're in that group, it means fucking hell, the pressure must be crazy, mate. Because as we're talking about, there isn't like a point where you can look at the calendar and go, oh, phew, right, this week we've got fucking, you know, Ultra Prime and RNG. Oh, thanks, we get a break. No, when you're in the Ascend group, mate, every single week is like, right, it's fucking BLG on Wednesday into... the joke is your idea of like a break is playing like JDG, who still could fuck around and take a game or beat in the series or FPX. These teams can still sometimes score that miracle win, mate. So it's rough. It's rough, because I know what you mean. If the approach really is just keep playing until it gets better, listen, there's a world where maybe that works. There's also a world where you just get even worse though, right? You just tank the team entirely.
It's also, you know, we see so many stints of teams in the LPL having like, oh, suddenly 3 series in a row, they're complete trash. And then suddenly they get their shit together. And sometimes I would say, oh, Weibo have green jerseys now, that's why. But something to always keep in mind is that in terms of the scheduling, it's very merciless. Sometimes teams play series back to back. Sometimes they have to travel to a different city, stay there for 4 days, not being in their gaming house, not being at their home, and then they have to adjust to new circumstances. And sometimes maybe just having a rest day, you know, traveling home and playing from home closer, you know, a venue closer to where your offices are, all of a sudden that can have like a world of difference, because it's just a question of timing. You know, adjusting to that travel can be, you know, very painful for performers, because obviously in League you only have 5 players, and if one guy like catches food poisoning, slept bad in a new bed or something, then suddenly your team can just play a lot worse. The flu game, I think the amount of flu games you have in League of Legends is staggering, because there's so many players that have been just forced to play because they're sick or injured or something happened in their life, because there's no options for your team. It's like, yeah, either you play or we FF. Like that's where we're at. Or we send in like the academy guy for the first time and just put him to the stake, a la Poby, you know, like that's just how League is built up. And I understand why it is that way, because you can't be paying for like a super sub. That's a very, very rare case that you can get away with that.
Let's talk about some LCK, shall we, Yamato? Because one, don't worry, there's going to be lots more fan drama. But before we get into that, one of the things that technically set up the latest fan drama in LCK was we had another T1 GENG matchup. And this time, I told you on the last episode, if you actually wanted to have the most hype storyline ever for playoffs, you actually sort of low-key needed T1 to win again against GENG. Because then the narrative would be, holy fuck, remember, there's only one split this whole year. They don't even count. If T1 wins that, it's all for nothing, all you did this year, GENG. All that amazing run, that undefeated. But it didn't happen. In the end, GENG won this one. Now, I will say about, before we get to the drama, the reason I'm actually low-key shocked about this drama is, mate, when you watch this series, this was one of the most uncharacteristic series between these two teams I've ever seen played. Like, bro, this series was a 3-game series, and it was like an LPL series, Yamato, because in all 3 games, the winner stomps the loser, and they stomp them from the very beginning of the game. Like, one of the weirdest things about this, you see why I say this is more like an LPL series, not an LCK series? Bro, these teams were playing so aggro in the early levels in the lanes. Like, they were on some, like, solo queue shit where it's like you just tried every weird, like, the jungler's just going balls deep every time he goes to the fucking bottom of the top lane. Like, they would do, and they're doing that thing, like, mate, you even saw it in the third game especially, where, like, they never, this is why it felt like the LPL, they never met a skirmish re-engaged, both teams that they didn't like. They just kept, like, suiciding into each other. And so the joke is, part of the reason I even think this was a Giga Stomp, so game one was a Giga Stomp for T1, then the other two were Giga Stomp for GENG, it's because it's like, once one team was slightly behind, they couldn't do the usual LCK thing of, like, right, you know, go back to laning, find some small edges, set up for an object. Everyone just, like, forced another fight. It was actually, here's the thing, it was exciting, but I don't know that this was the best League of Legends I've seen about this, and also almost every fight I watched. That's why I didn't even talk shit on Twitter to T1 fans. I didn't know GENG was going to win these fights. These were those fights where everyone's health bar's like that, and it's just people going across the screen like this. It's not like an old boomeroo like the old League of Legends would hit. It's just champions go like this, and the health bar's going, and at the end you're supposed to, whoever wins go calculated. Like, no one fucking knew who was going to win these fights. What did you think of this series, bro? I thought this series was mad. It was like you would have thought for real that, like, the loser dies and some at the end of this series. They were fighting like crazy, bro. It was nuts.
I don't know. It's weird because it seems it's like what's happening behind the scenes, right? With these two teams is they've practiced against each other so extensively.
Oh, sure.
So they know each other in ways that are, like, so intimate at this point, you know, in terms of what they are and how they play. And I do think that there is a level of respect that both teams have towards each other, that when a certain team is ahead, they understand that they are going to be capable of winning. So they're going to look for, like, opportunities and, like, squeeze water from stone because they understand, like, the game state. Because in all three games, it was like out of the early game, a team was ahead, and then it kind of finished out. There was definitely, like, moments where it just went too far. I think in game one, there was that, I believe, the third Drake that T1 was taking, the fourth Drake of the game, where it's like, oh, Rel died on the engage. And then it's like,
yeah.
And it's like, oh, Rel died. Okay, we give it the dragon. We try to push that top side,
yeah.
put some walls down, maybe something. But they're like, nah, we're gonna fight this. And then two people died. And then Ruler extends further. He's like, now we have to fight this. They're fighting 2v4. It's like, there's the point in time where maybe they can relax. It was just very interesting to see. For me, the best part about the series is that I think it really showcased how I would basically categorize both teams. I think GENG is, like, in terms of the individual ability and how they choose the skirmishes and how they lane, this is how they win games. Like that Keen performance on the Ambassador that is undefeated, where he's just taking, like, these 2v3 fights, 1v3 fights, and just doing ridiculous things. Or even in that game, that same game where at first T1, they just coordinated around Zinzao stepping into River and just collapsed on him instantly. That showcases to me, like, basically how I categorize T1. T1 is just the epitome of, like, a hive mind. They are so decisive in the decisions they take, where there is, if someone says, I want to fight here, everyone just fucking goes. It's like the speed of how fast people collapse from T1 and how fast they TP. There was, like, moments in that game where the Rise Bard game, which I think is a very clever way to approach GENG specifically, because their solo laners like Keen and Chovy are so good at stealing waves, but Bard and Rise ult, of course, just break the game completely in terms of the distance that you cover. But the moment they take decisions, they are very snappy. They commit all the way, no matter how ridiculous it might be or not be. And I think in the end, GENG won out, because I think the biggest flaw of T1 is that when they play against GENG, the further the series is going to go, the more T1 needs to stray away from their comfort. Because I think that's the biggest strength, and also the weakness is that they lock in the same champions again and again and again.
Yes.
And in games where those champions are good, they stomp the best team, even GENG. But in the games where those champions are not good, it's like, sure, you're comfortable on that champ, you can do some crazy stuff on Poppy, but, you know, the enemy just is a little bit more flexible, and the draft edge just wins out in the end. And I do think T1 can maintain such a high level of individual performance because they take that route. So I respect that daily, of course. But it does come at a cost when a team like GENG is capable of that level of flexibility on, and that level of play on so many different champions. So for me, every time these teams just face up, I think it's so cool that we get to see the strengths and the weakness of both teams.
Like I say, what's so bizarre about that particular series is it feels like a series that had no macro. It was just people fighting all the time. And then, like I say, it really was just like someone would have like 17 kills at like 20 minutes into the game or something. It was just over. Like it's so bizarre. It almost made me feel like Yamato. They've played so many like traditional games at all these international tournaments that are like the usual League of Legends where you do it all right, you group around the objective, then you give it up when it's not the right dragon, then you come back for the one Baron, then you try and flip that, and then you do the right move, you set the lanes up. It's like this one, they just wanted to fight from minute one. They were never letting this go to macro. They were like, whoever wins the early game wins this fucking match. Because what's weird is, the reason I set this up, Yamato, is at the end of that series, I'm not saying this is Corp, and by the way, the team I like, GENG, won the fucking series. For real, if I'm both teams at the end of that series, I'm like, I don't take any big judgments from that. We both could have won that series. Like, we also, by the way, both could play very differently. We chose to sort of opt into all these fights. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be like super heartbroken I lost that one. By the way, if I'm a T1 fan, we're in a mega position. Like, remember, before the road to MSI, that playoff bracket where they beat Hanwha Life and got to go to MSI, most people thought they were a distant third and that the whole thing in League of Legends was Hanwha Life and GENG. After that, combined with MSI, EWC, and then now this run now, T1 has never looked this good this year. Like, they, for real, I mean, about a week ago, they were potentially even the best Korean team. That was which would make you probably the best team in the world since anyone Legend had fallen off. Like, if I'm a T1 fan, bro, I wouldn't be that out on this team at all. I'd be like, look, we're cooking. Everything's going well. But bizarrely, this one result, like, I get it. There's the thing, mate. I would get if people were getting mad with trucks and stuff like 2 years ago where you had the Porby thing and they're losing every game and everyone looks like shit. I get that. That looks like, wow, we've let the team go to shit. It's Manchester United. What are we doing? We're supposed to be T1. Bro, I don't even understand where this drama's come from. So if people don't know, after this, like a close loss to GENG. They've done this thing where instead of trucks, the other protest thing they do is they send wreaths of flowers. Now, people claim, Yamato, that's not supposed to mean like you will die or something. It's supposed to just be like a form of protest. But the problem with that is, I don't really believe Nutter fans. Like, Nutter fans will always say, but it is way, Brazilian fans would say some shit like that when they were like, come to Brazil, which obviously means like, and I'll beat you the fuck up. They'd be like, no, just come and visit. It's really nice. It's like, give me a break. Yeah, all right, Nate, whatever. So anyway, the point is, for some reason, this has caused a drama. And most interestingly of all, as I know people like you and Dom all saw on your streams, it's actually reignited that Smash drama from before. It turns out that within the T1 fan base, there are still these two factions, the Guma fans and then the Smash fans, and even more complicated, it's based on like, one's called like T1 Gallery, and then the other one's called like T1 something at Shooting Gallery or something, whatever it is. There's two versions of it. It's like some civil war. I know exactly. There's even like two forums on DC Inside or whatever. And basically, one of them, it seems like it's the Smash ones, have decided this is the moment to sort of be like, it was only, they do it, by the way, they're really taking the old narrative of Joe Marsh at the beginning of the year, Yamato. They're doing that thing of like, well, Guma's only in there because Joe Marsh was like, that's such an old narrative, but okay. So he's only in there. And I guess because they've lost to GENG, they want Smash back in the lineup or something, which is like, here's the funny thing, Yamato. I was pretty big on Smash. I did think he was better than Guma at the beginning of the year, but I think Guma generally has had a pretty good fucking like month and a half at this point. He's had to, you could argue he's like contending for best ADC. He's been very good. Like, he's had tons of, by the way, of double-digit kill carry games or games where he gets his champion picks. I want to get your take on this because there's two angles to it. One is like, what do you think of the actual complaint? Like, do you think Smash should get games? And two, what about this fan reaction? Because both, it's one of the rare times where I'm just baffled by it, man. I don't get it. I wouldn't be that down on T1 if I was a T1 fan. I think they're really good players, mate.
I think the main thing, I think Gumayushi has been fantastic for the team. It's like, would I say Ruler's better than him? Yeah, I would, but
That's not a diss. That's not a diss.
Like, that's life, Sometimes, somebody's just going to be better than you, and that's just what happens, Like, in the context of his play, I think the main thing that has just changed is that we talked about it many times, is just Doran is capable of carrying, everyone's more involved. Gumayushi's, let's say, consistent style. I think like Gumayushi is very risk averse, very good laner that enables carrier, which is super big for them. And then he's very risk averse, but he maintains his CS numbers and he's going to be there to be, the guy that kind of cleans up. Very similar to like Def's role on like the DRX run when they won Worlds. It was pretty much just like, oh, Battle goes and fucks off and does shit. I need to maintain. And then there was those games where it's like, oh, we didn't see Deft for fucking 30 minutes. What was he up to? Oh, damn, he has 3 items and he's just peppering. That's basically like the role of Gumayushi I see on this team. And it works because they've managed to evolve every player into a role that makes sense with that. So I wouldn't want to change anything. The fan reaction, it just seems to be like this continuation, like that stems back from when SKT like was sold to T1 and Comcast and so
They've
forth.
got over it, have they?
And it's like the change of like the let's say the conservative esports T1 fan, the SKT fan that didn't want it to be, you know, changed, and then it was like that era that was really bad with the decision making, with the coaching staff being fired and the back and forth, because like the beginning was really rough. It was really bad. And I do think that this year kind of reignited those conversations, because like that PR statement from Joe Marsh is really just giving so much fuel to the fire, because if it wasn't for the framing that he had to step in and put in Gumayushi, there would be no ammunition to these statements. But Gumayushi is like the face now of the, you know, bad decision maker that is you know, got hated by this T1 gallery and so forth. So he's just the one catching the flack. And something that I have noticed is that ever since all of this went down and the apology that they did that seemed to be very, let's say, legally fueled, I haven't seen Joe Marsh say anything publicly. It just seems like they made the business decisions like, Joe Marsh, you just need to shut the fuck up and do your job. You're doing great. You signed Faker for 4 years and signed the Saudi deal. We're going to have money for the rest. Oh, fucking lovely. Do that and don't say anything publicly. Good job, you know? And that's what seemed to be working. But this just seems to be like ridiculous fan reaction. And I think if they managed how the decisions were made along the way, then there would be no ammunition to it. But it just seems to be this faction of T1 fans that they've had a history of doing some really ridiculous things. That came to, like, there was a point in time, I remember, where they were like doxing the church of Gumayushi's family. It's like, well, what on earth are we doing here? You know, like this is just sickness. This is sickness. And to that degree, it's like I noticed, it's like the last couple of months, it's like the fan sentiment around Gumayushi is like as if, you know, you're not allowed to criticize him. It's like, oh, we need to protect him. You know, this is a guy that we need to protect. I guess it's just the reaction to the vitriol from people like this, you know, that it just becomes more extreme, because the reaction to the extreme is to react also extreme on the other side in terms of the correction. So it seems to be just a back and forth pull. But I do think, I agree with your sentiments. Like T1 is as good as they have been. In that game 3, it's like, that's like the hallmark example. It's like they blind pick Silas in a game where there's nothing. Koki Vi is showing. And then GENG just are capable of pivoting to Koki mid into Silas and slam Ziggs on 5 into the Xayah, making the Xayah just suffer in a game where she countered the Vi. And you can look at T1 and say, wow, they're all playing comfort champions. They have insane win ratio on all of these. Nico for Keria, Xayah for Gumayushi, Silas for, of course, Faker. But in that context, it's just a piss poor draft. And I don't know how they figured that out, because in the end, they have gotten to this point because they've stuck to their guns and picked what made sense for them. They beat How Alive because of that. They did super well at internationals because of that. So finding the balance between that is super difficult. And I don't know how they're going to manage that, because I think if they are going to beat GENG in playoffs at some point, it needs to be in 3. I think if it goes to game 4 or 5, I think they will have less and less chances. It will just be tougher and tougher to beat them as the more the series goes because of Fearless.
Yeah, I looked it up. What I said was right, but the correct thing was there's 2 different like subcategories on like DC Inside or whatever. One's called T1 Gallery. Apparently they're the fans of Guma. Then the other one's called T1 Cheering Gallery, and they're like the Smash faction.
You said shooting gallery. That's why I fucking laughed.
You can see what in my brain. It sounds similar. It sounds like the same shit, doesn't it? I know. But here's what I find so weird about this topic. Even as someone who earlier this year, I would have given Smash more a try. I thought he looked really good in when they brought him in. The problem I have is this. One, this isn't even vaguely like, you know, panic station, smash and break this glass in case of emergency and pull out smash. Like, no, like, it's not at that point yet. Like Guma, he doesn't fucking almost win 2 tournaments and then come home and he's just he's already kicked out the team because he had 1 loss in a series. And by the way, before that, he was also on carrying some of the games where you're beating the Hanwha Life of the world and the GENGs of the world. So 1, he hasn't failed enough yet that he needs to be taken out. And then 2, the only angle I can think of if you're a Smash fan goes like this. Yeah, but T1 didn't win MSI and EWC. And it's like, yeah, but Guma did play pretty fucking well. And I've seen Smash play in LCK. I don't know that he'd actually like carry fucking MSI. Like, yeah, sure, he didn't get the chance to do it, but I think it's pretty unreasonable to act like he would have won those tournaments. So I just feel like it's a rare example, Yamato. It's not even that I'm mad at them for like getting upset. There's times you can get upset. I just don't get what you're upset about. You know what I mean? Like in this scenario, like. Yeah, I just don't get it, mate. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then also it tied into, I saw there was other ways this drama spilled over, which is because Cadril commented on the thing with the wreaths and said he made the classic mistake of saying that thing where it's like, yeah, people who did this aren't the real T1 fans. Anytime you get into a discussion of who the real fans are, you're always going to get all the worst fans come out, mate, because like, even though I know what you mean colloquially, is what you mean is normal T1 fans aren't noticed like this. They wouldn't do that. You know, there's extreme people, but they're just going to take that as like, as you saw here, who the fuck are you? How can you judge who the real fans are? Like, hey, you aren't even Korean, bro. It's going to be all that classic stuff. So I saw he got all the backlash as well. I saw it, because remember, Cadril has tried that very dangerous game of trying to like essentially keep all these wild beasts fucking happy without them attacking him, Yamato. So on the one hand, in the morning, he goes out and he feeds a nice roast duck to an alligator that's in his backyard. Don't eat me though, just eat the alligator, eat the roast duck. Okay. Then next, he goes over to the other part of his estate and he feeds like a hungry fucking tiger that's growling. He feeds that steak. Just eat the steak. Don't kill me though, just eat the steak. And he tries to keep, I made this joke before, that like the Venn diagram of fans of Cadril, it explains why he gets so many crazy dramas, because he's simultaneously courting T1 fans, fanatic fans, reckless fans, and then his own fans. Like, mate, that is a crazy powder keg of like, you put 1 foot wrong and you are going to be Cadril when he gets in drama. It's like, you remember that scene that everyone uses the gif from on Twitter from Pirates of the Caribbean, where that British guy knows that he's fucked and they're shooting all the cannonballs at his ship. And so he just walks through the ship like, la, 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 and he's walking through as all the stuff's exploding around him. You know the one I'm on about, where it's blown up all the stairs. And because he knows he's fucked anyway, he just gives a fuck. He just walks through like, la, la, la. That's like Cadril going on his own subreddit every day, mate. Like, oh, what fires are there today? Well, which one of the rebels burning down now in my little town here? Because, mate, these T1 fans, he can't get a break. On the one hand, sometimes he successfully feeds the alligator and they're on his side and he's got a massive fan base. But fuck it, every time he says anything even mild about T1, because the one this reminds me of you about was that one last year where they went so hard on him, T1 fans, just because he said like he wouldn't have voted for T1 as like team of the year. He didn't even say something like they can't be allowed to win it or whatever. Like it was a fan vote, wasn't it? Like he just sort of said like he wouldn't have voted for them or something, and people went mad at him. So amazingly, even though I'm sure Cadril was like, finally, EWC is over, back to being popular. Now the T1 fans are on his ass again, bro. Like he can't get a break.
I was like, the post was pretty funny. It reminded me of the manifesto. Remember the manifesto?
Yes. The link one.
I was like the manifesto style is just too funny. But at least that it did seem like the sentiment around this community could recognize that this is like, oh, this is fucking odd, because I think these gallery ones are very, 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 very strange. That's for sure.
The joke is, my slip up is like a Freudian slip up. They should rename it to the T1 shooting gallery, because all they're looking for is their next target to just fire all the fucking toxic shit out. You know, like.
Bro, honestly, that's how it seemed like. You know, it's like, oh, they lost here and Guma usually didn't look good on Zaya. Oh, let's release all of these flowers. They're rotting away. Things have been too good. We need to. This is our vouchers are expiring. We need to send them. It seemed like they had like a deadline. They just needed to complain about.
And there was
something.
another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I don't know if you saw this. I saw this on Dom's stream. Did you see the thing Dom showed where T1, mate, they've gone too far now. I'm calling them out on this one, Yamato. They've gone too far, right? They've sold a fan service to their fans that, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to speculate here, and obviously I'll be very careful legally. I just don't believe it's real. This just looks fake to me. They have this thing, did you see it, where they have a thing called T1 Pop service?
No?
Right, watch. Oh, I'll link you here. Just go to like, let me see how many minutes to go through. Okay, on this Dom video, just go to like 3:30 or something. You'll see it on screen. Basically, they have a service in Korea where you pay a membership fee and through an app, you can actually like chat, and they claim one-on-one message T1 fat players, by the way. As in, and you look, you pay a different amount to message all the players. They're implying, Yamato, you can one-on-one message Faker if you pay them each month and he will read your message. Like, the problem I have with this is this, Yamato. Again, look, I don't know any, this is pure speculation. I know nothing about how this is implemented. I'm not Korean. I've never used the service. But here's the problem I have, Yamato. When you consider how many hours a day Faker plays League of Legends, I refuse to believe that he is the one who ever even reads your message or replies to it. I don't think he even does like a Donald Trump, where if you don't know, Donald Trump, suppose he doesn't type his own tweets. He has like a girl where he just tells her like, oh, tweet this now, right? And she like sort of like a secretary writes down his tweet and then presses send, right? Well, the joke is, I don't even think that's what's happening here. Because again, Faker's playing League of Legends like 14 hours a day and then living his life. To me, I'm sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and guess. This looks to me like I've got some bad news for some of you boys if you all fucking go on that OnlyFans shit. You know, on OnlyFans where you can message the girl, yeah, that isn't the girl you're messaging. She hires like a guy and he's the one who just writes the shit back to you, because at the end of the day, it's just text. So in that scenario, as long as he can write the right thing, you're just tricked into thinking that. I think that's what this looks like, bro. This just looks like if you pay however much, $3 a month, you can message someone who will pretend to be Faker and go, thank you, I will give good games if you cheer for me. And they're like, oh, thanks for the $3, dickhead. Like, I just refuse to, but there's no way Faker ever checks this up, bro. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think, bro? It's crazy.
It's also, it's like, who would believe it? Because imagine just the scale.
I don't know.
Imagine,
I know.
like just the scale. Like imagine like T1 fans, if I, like even from myself, like if I could contact Faker and write him, it's like, what would you think about this draft? What was here? And he would answer, it's like, yeah, we actually, we practice this and we want to play this. Like, if I could get that access, I would pay for it. But the thing is the scale. Like, I can't imagine how many people, is like, if we just speculate, how many people are going to like
1,000 people or something? Yeah.
As even 1,000, it's already ridiculous.
It's a lot of people, yeah, it's a lot.
That's a whole full-time job to answer 1,000 people. So like from that degree, it just doesn't make any sense. Like one-to-one messaging feature, real-time live chats. Like this has to be, you know, there has to be some legalese, you know, in terms of the marketing of this that's wrong, because it's just completely unfeasible. Even if they wanted to, how do you do this? How? It's impossible. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just one dude, you know, that gets hired to keep track of it. Maybe they even do it so cynically they just do AI, you know, there's AI, you know, bots that do messaging too, like who knows? Like imagine that it comes out that the person just that does the messaging says something fucked up, and then it's a scandal, you know. Like,
what if it's like, yeah, exactly, you message Faker, he's like, fuck your mother. Like, what the fuck? It'd be at the end of the world, wouldn't it? I know, like, against T1, it'd be mental, wouldn't it? I know. Let's hope no rogue employee gets in there, you might. Oh, exactly, that sounds sus as fuck. Also, I'm with you as well, like, bro, how many people have signed up to this? There's just no way it's possible. Also, this just sounds so... T1, this is the most cynical thing any esports orgs maybe ever done. Because you are tricking your fans, as far as I can tell, into thinking they get to talk to the players. And they almost certainly aren't. And in this scenario, it's like some carnival shit, like, roll up, talk to the mysterious Faker himself. Only $10 a head. Like, give me a break. And then it's just like a guy with a mask on, like, hello, I am Faker. Like, wait, you don't even sound Korean. No, I am. I just have a cold right now. Like, anyway, pay $10 to continue the conversation. Like, what they should do, Yamato, is that, you know what? I'm going to give advice to Joe Marsh and T1. Make it even more cynical. Don't make it that you pay for access. Make it time-based. You need it to feel, Yamato, like back in the day when you played like an arcade machine. You know when you die because they're really hard? It's the intimidation of that countdown before you lose the chance to continue. It's like you got like 30 seconds to put the coin in, where it's like... And you're like, mate, the panic that puts in you, it makes you really quickly get the money out. Like, fuck, I gotta keep playing. Like, just do that. Like, Faker, like, yeah, I'd love to say that, but pause. It'd be like, you have run out of credit. Please insert 100 more. Like, no, what was he gonna say? What was Faker gonna say? Like, and anyway, I think the secret to winning worlds is insert more money to talk to Faker. Like, just be more cynical, bro. Why not, mate? You know what they should really do? Oh, I've just figured out the real genius one, Yamato. T1, if you want to actually be millionaires, I've just figured out how you do it. Forget T1 Pop messaging the players. Claim that I get to one-on-one message Joe Marsh and tell him my complaints about the roster. Bro, I figured it out. That's genius. That's genius. And even better, Yamato, because we're going to use AI in our speculated version, we're going to use one of these modern AIs that has that fucked up thing where they just affirm everything you say and tell you that you're awesome. So no matter what roster move you tell imaginary Joe Marsh on my T1 pop on, right? If you message him like, no, fucking Smash should be in instead of Guma, it just, no matter what you say, it just replies like, yeah, that's actually great advice. You're clearly a keen viewer of the game who has a very high level macro understanding. And you know a lot about the AD character, but the joke is if you say the same thing about, yeah, Guma should stay and he's really good. It's like, you're right. We should be loyal to Guma. He is part of the OFGK group. No matter what you say, it just affirms it and then you just pay him money. I think that's the idea. Let the Nutter fan message Joe Marsh, imaginary AI Joe Marsh goes.
It kind of reminds me of the like when Fnatic did this thing where it's like become a co-owner of Fnatic.
Oh yeah, true.
And it's like, what kind of proof? Like, do I get this on paper? Do I get a stock? You get a T-shirt that says.
What does that
owner.
feel like when they say that? I know what you mean, because the problem with that is you're never going to be like with Sam Matthews behind the team or in the box, are you? Though, so it just feels like that shit, Yamato, where your girlfriend buys like that thing in Scotland, like 1 square foot, and it's like, yeah, in Scotland. It feels like that, doesn't it? Like, am I really though? Isn't this piece of paper really all this was for? It feels like that. I know what you mean. It does feel like that. True.
It's definitely up there.
By the way, I have to say though, look, I won't rewatch that series ever. It wasn't a classic. Like I say, it was one team smashing the other one early in the game. But I'll tell you what, it was kind of exciting though, man. Like it kind of made me hyped. Like that was essentially like the equivalent of like a UFC match where they really do just fucking punch each other's head in. Like it was just rock'em sock'em robots. It was fucking sick. Like these two teams both seem like, there's the other thing that, this is why I also don't get the overreaction, Yamato. The way T1 played super aggro early game, and by the way, even though they lost some of these games, they were having chances and like getting kills. It was back and forth. That made me think they really believe they're better than GENG. Like they didn't look scared in this game, mate. They were going for everything. You could even argue on the game they won, the game won. Like, mate, people like Kerrier are just playing big balls League of Legends now, mate. Like, he was just fucking going all the way in. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. Like, they actually say, I agree. They also seem really coordinated, by the way. T1 as a team now is doing, like you say, the hive mind thing. If one person goes in, they just go in, mate. They just commit. I actually love that. It's really entertaining to watch.
It's so good for the region and just the league that you have like these, teams that are essentially like dragons battling each other. Just they have like a reason to practice for, a reason to wake up for. Like it's very, very easy to find motivation when you're so close, and you've shown that you can beat them and it's possible, and there is like fruits to your labor. Because it's like even after that, it's like the 2 series both teams played after that, they just made easy work of Nongshim, KT, easy peasy, easy work. But the main story is like T1 and GENG, them fighting against each other. I'm happy that GENG like have adversity, because it's like how Alive have their problems, right? It doesn't seem to be any solution anywhere close. And then the mid table has just like disappeared completely in terms of their competitive nature and how close they could be with the top end. It's because even when they play against How Alive, it's like, oh, maybe they can steal a game or whatever. But even then, it's like, oh, How Alive just win because they're individually better. But the previous split, we had the situation where like T1 and T1 was figuring themselves out. I think GENG also in winter they were figuring themselves out. Like they weren't really there yet. And it's interesting to see like the active development real time of all of these teams. Because by contrast, we look at LPL, it's like it's all over the place. And we didn't mention some of the teams, right? But we could have talked about JDG, them replacing like half the roster and just being in complete disarray. Weibo Gaming, whatever. It's like every team within LPL is just going through management issues and problems. And I think this is like a really good year for the LCK as a whole, because I think there is very little things that I would want to do differently in terms of the GMing, besides maybe fighting harder to keep pace here or whatever. It also got me to think, the fact that at one point CV Max was fired or removed, but maybe he just wanted to leave. He's like, fuck that shit, because now he's in Damwon, his life seems better, because now JDG is just a mess. He just left pace behind us. Like, oh, see you.
Oh, by the way, this upcoming week is the week for Annual Life. If people don't know, they play T1 and GENG in this upcoming week. And I have to say, Yamato, I need probably at least one win and some very good games, at least for Hanwha, because I know what you mean. What the real bummer of Annual Life is at the moment, they clearly are a third place behind T1 and GENG. But as you say, if they play anyone else, even the other teams that used to be good, the KTs, the Longsham, they murk those teams too easily, bro. So unfortunately, at the moment, they're in, like, in theory, the worst spot. They can't win the LCK. They probably won't win Worlds, but they're just better than everyone else they play. And so, I don't know, this week, I have to see something. I need, like, a turnaround. I need, like I said, give me a big win. Even if it's over GENG, give me, like, one big win where everyone plays great. Because when you do play against the lesser teams, you forget all the problems. You see, like, Viper having Smurf series. You see fucking Peanut pulling out a nice game here and there. Zeus is still really good, but it's just, I know what you mean. This summer should have been so much more hype. Like, if this really was like the three big teams all getting wins on each other, you know, rock, paper, scissors scenario, and then you'd also had like the real KT and Nongshim where they could get upset wins, they could win a game off you. That would be a way more hype split. This split at the moment, it's basically, I'm mainly just watching T1 and GENG waiting for them to battle again. That's all I'm doing at the moment.
Thank God for the format. We are getting plenty of it. Because if I had to watch like GENG play Bro and DRX and DNF play T1, I would slowly go insane. So God bless this format. It's a good one that we get the matchups, and I don't think they're losing any hype at all. It's like every week we have matches to look forward to, and
Yes.
I'm also hyped for the Hanwha Live matches. I'm with you. I need to see more. I really need to see more. I want to see Zeka step up to the plate. I want them to figure out what makes sense for Peanut and Delight to play, because currently they seem to be out of sorts. Right now, like Jungle and support seems to be very dynamic roles in terms of what you need to play, especially with the nerfs to like Alistar and Braum. You need to be capable of playing like the range supports and pivot in and out of things. And I don't think this is like the biggest comfort for Delight and Peanut, but if they can find like a structure that makes sense, Hanwha Life can be good again. Because there's been periods where Delight and Peanut have underperformed.
Absolutely.
Like there's been periods where they underperformed and then went on to win against GENG in the finals in a meta that seemed to be perfect for GENG with the AD carries mid, with the Tristana and the Koki, so forth. So Hanwha Life is just like a sleeping dragon. Like things can shift very fast, and it's easy to forget that there was a period where they were clearly like the best team in the world. Sure, it was close that they lost some of those best of fives, but at some point, if you keep winning those game fives, you know, you get credit for it, because in the end they did beat all of these teams, especially GENG twice. So Hanwha Life have it in them for sure.
The beauty of this format, Yamato, is that there's no filler. It's not bloated. It's just all the things I want neatly in order, compactly in a way where it's just right there anytime I reach for it. A bit like my Ridge wallet.
Honestly, that was some of your best work.
It wasn't bad.
That's some of your best work. Ridge wallet. Boom. I have it with me. Took it with me, of course, on travel. I almost revealed the card. I think that's okay. Not revealing any sensitive information, no problem, because it tucks away super, super nicely. You know what's insane is that as I read through, you know, and I'm looking, like a part of me wanted to ask if I can even participate. Maybe I buy another Ridge wallet, because currently there is a legendary sweepstakes, and apparently this is for the 5th time.
Oh yeah.
I'm a more recent Ridge wallet enjoyer, and I'm a Ridge wallet man, you know. But I look at it and I was like, can I participate? Because there's a sweepstakes. The 2 lucky winners get
The
to
prices are
choose
mental. They're actually mental, aren't they?
between a Lamborghini Huracan Sterato or a Hennessy Velociraptor. And this
Which
is
is like a big fuck off truck if people don't know. It looks massive. It looks really baller, bro. It's insane, isn't it?
or just simply $100 in cash. You know, you don't have a driver's license, $100 in cash. I think that's absolutely mental. If I would win, the businessman in me would take the Lamborghini because it's more expensive. It's very rare. I believe there's only like 1,500 of them available. Like that's some good money. I imagine like the Ridge Wallet owner, like the CEO of the company, like bought the car, got bored of it. It's like let's just make a sweepstakes. Here we go. Let the homies that get the Ridge Wallets win a Lamborghini. So I would pick the Lamborghini myself. Are you a little? Would you go for the Velociraptor? Is that your style?
I don't drive cars anyway. So I will just say. Also, you did say $100. It's $100,000.
$100,000. Sorry,
because I feel like that'd be a bit of a fucked up choice, isn't it? You can either have this car, I don't drive. Well, there's $100, kid, get the fuck out of it. No, you get 100,000. Here's the sad thing. Even though I will say, by the way, I know what you mean. When you hear the Lamborghini, you think, well, I'm already in. Bro, the other car looks fucking baller too. That like truck looks unbelievable. I don't drive though, so I think I would just take the cold hard cash. Give me the 100K. I'll take that. I'll be off.
Same. Like I would be stressed of owning a car of that quality, especially if I don't drive.
But the cool thing is you get a choice. You got all three, haven't you?
You get the choice. And, to speak on that, it's not only about buying, random lottery tickets. You basically get those lottery tickets if you just spend money on really damn good products. Ridge Wallet, keeps everything safe. Getting used to how to use it. Like in the beginning, it was kind of like, oh, I had to like fidget with it. But now there's like a classiness and a style to it. When I walk up to the store, pay with my card. The
smooth. You get it out nice and quick.
It's like the movement of it all is very very smooth.
Oh, you
and
mean
nice.
It reminds me of that shit in movies. The Wild West where they're doing all that shit with the gun, like.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It's a bit of swag. You get out with the style. The person looks, oh, what's that? What's that weird? What they? You smooth. Out comes the fan of the cards. Back in it goes. Oh, it's slick, isn't it? It's slick, mate.
You know what's up. And of course, there's many different styles. You can choose different colors, different styles, different textures. It's personal. You can even make it feature your favorite NFL team. I don't watch NFL, but this is something that you can do. Ridge also isn't only about wallets. I have this key case that I really, really like. It's like usually, sometimes I have pants with no pockets and I could just latch it on. And I like the fact that it doesn't jiggle. I think there's something very, emasculating about keys that jiggle, where you like walk to the shore and everyone hears you coming. I like the stealthiness of it all. And as always, Ridge has, of course, free shipping and 99-day risk-free trial and a lifetime warranty on all products. If that's not confidence in your product, I don't know what is. So get ready to upgrade your wallet and maybe even your ride if you're lucky enough. For limited time, only head to ridge.com and use code SI. Very simple, SI at checkout for 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstakes ever, a Lamborghini Huracan Starato. Bro, I need to use our code and buy some more to family and friends. It's like, oh, here you get a Ridge wallet, I get the sweepstake tickets. Maybe that's something I need to do. I don't know if I'm allowed to. No purchase necessary to enter, but every dollar you spend gets you more entries. That's ridge.com, and use, of course, code SI. As I mentioned, after your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that our show sent you, of course, Summoning Insight, me and Thorin, Yamato and Thorin. Support the show so we can do more and more of these until the end of time, where we are gray and just decrepit. Hopefully, that's going to be possible.
Indeed. Also, just a great wallet. It's a nice little quality of life upgrade.
Yes, sir.
And it's a good gift as well, by the way. Buy it for your dad or your granddad or fucking your uncle or someone who will enjoy. They might not buy it for themselves, but they would enjoy it if they had it, is what I would say. Yeah, okay. Right, let's talk a bit about LEC, because are you ready? I think there's a theme emerging here, Yamato. A famous team in a major region has fan-based drama around it. Right, this one, if people don't get this one, I feel like there's some backstory that I'm going to speculate around, but it makes sense, which is, think about what we discussed last week, which is this weird thing where Nisqy joined KC, but to back in mid lane, to back up Vladi, and it was even openly stated by KC, basically, the reason we're doing this, and it was quite interesting, the terminology used. They said something like they were doing it to make Vladi be like more professional and to like do the things he needs to do or something. And it almost basically implied, it's not that they're saying they think Nisqy is better than Vladi, but they're almost implying Vladi isn't doing some of the things they want. Maybe he doesn't, doesn't grind as much, or doesn't play the way they want in the game, or maybe he's being selfish in some way. And so they think by having Nisqy there, who obviously is French speaking, all that jazz, he's very likable, and he's a mid laner that plays for the team more than himself. They're almost implying this is the way to sort of like motivate Vladi to get his shit together. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence, Yamato. That happens, and then something like a week later, we have this drama where Vladi, who, by the way, I assume it's on his stream from these screenshots. I've actually watched this guy. He's one of the rare players in the West I've watched stream, actually. Whenever at the end of my stream, sometimes I want to host someone. I've hosted him a couple of times, and I've sat watching him for like half an hour. Mate, he is a really good player in solo queue, but the difference is, in solo queue, he is way more of like a wild man than he is in actual LEC games. Like, he plays loads of different champions, mate. He goes super aggro in the game. But he also, remember, I do point this out to people, he is Greek. This isn't some like Swedish guy who's really shy. Greek people have a pretty forthright personality, as I think people have now figured out in the LEC. And he's actually, bro, I actually think he's sort of hinted this one. Because even though, yes, if you're me or Dom, in a way, I'm loving it when I see these comments, Yamato. Because if people don't know, on his Twitch, he's actually said 2 comments, which have been screenshotted and now everyone's seen. One said, I am playing for KC, but the majority of the fan base of this org is by far the worst I've seen. Then he followed that up and said, I would appreciate if the single-digit IQ KC fans shut their mouth and keep their opinions for their own. Now, on the one hand, Yamato, that's based as fuck. I think that's hilarious. I'm not a fan of KC fans, especially the ones that are really annoying. And in a way, part of me is kind of like getting off on the idea that one of their own players was like, will you shut the fuck up, you idiot? Like, in a way, I like that, Yamato. The problem I know is this, though. Is even if in the moment he sent that message, it let him, vent a little bit and he felt good. This was a very bad PR move. Like I just alluded to, you already potentially have some minor friction within the org. And quite frankly, if you look at all the players in KC, you're playing some of the worst League of Legends, Vladi. You're not bad, but the difference is people like Kada's unbelievable still. Kalista's still very good. You are one of the players that's more of like the problem in the team. And I'll just throw this in, as I'll always say for every time we talk about the French or Spanish fans. You aren't French. So you don't even get that extra like advantage that they're going to be super lovely to you. Like, I feel like he's hinted it a bit here, Yamato. On the one hand, I think it's hilarious, but I feel like this can only come back to bite him. Do you know what I mean? Surely this is going to be at this point in time, it's probably going to be hard to win those fans back over. What do you think?
I do think, people gave Kameto like criticism for like basically saying like Vladi overspoke and he apologized, he's going to take a break from social media. But I understand, it's like this is the business model that they've set up, right? And they are a organization that is powered by the fans, and I think the way you communicate obviously is super, super important, because he specifically said majority, right? And I think even though you can extrapolate truth from it and read between the lines and understand what he means and so forth, there's a responsibility that you carry when you are a part of an organization that makes you, of course, puts you in a position where this is like a necessity to maintain like a very, very good relationship with the fandom. I understand that it's extremely, extremely frustrating. It was like the way KC, they are very like, I have noticed that the fandom is insanely tribal. Of course, anyone that is against the team, they are against too, right? It's like they're like like Koi is the enemy. There's no like, oh, we're Europe, we're going to an international, but fuck all that. It's like, oh, Koi is there, you're playing bad, we're clowning on you. It's like this is our team against your team. There's no frenemies, there's no friends in the region. But even worse so is that if you have someone within the team, like then you get cannibalized, because it's like I was on KC and I was viewed by the KC majority like in a good way, and then when I posted, for example, I hung out with Dom. That was like a really big no-no. It's like one of our guys is hanging with Dom. That's horrible. Sure. So I'm hanging out with you. That's fucking horrible. Or like I posted a screenshot of Umti being 3 levels ahead and 100 CS ahead, and I wrote oof. I just wrote oof because it is an oof. Yeah, I could say it's an oof. Everyone would say it's an oof. And then I got attacked over and over again on Twitter. Like thousands of messages where people came into my Twitch and it's like, wish death upon me. I was like, what the hell? Over an oof, it's not to rationalize or say, because it's completely irrational, but it's like, oh, this is one of our own guys going against us. He's even worse. This is like disloyalty. This is betrayal of the highest order. And I think the main thing for Vladi, I think there's certain like circumstances where people read between the lines and have attributed those problems of the team to him. Because I remember there were interviews at times with Kalis. He said, oh, the team was very demotivated. People didn't work hard enough. And then it's like you read between the lines, like, oh, Niski comes in. And then was like something to motivate him. And then people reference back to that. It's like, why did we underperform during this period? Oh, we didn't make MSI because of this. And then it's like you read between the lines, because like Vladi was criticized for very random things. It's like he got criticized for his relationship with like being good friends with Kazi, and Kazi is a little bit of a goofball, right?
Oh, okay.
He was criticized for like people that that were around Vladi as the problems, that affected his gameplay. Those people got criticized. It got very, very parasocial in a weird way. People were insulting him in Twitch chat too, and I understand where that frustration comes from. Wunder, like when I was reading through this, Wunder actually made his own assessment that this was Wunder's word. I do think it kind of also makes sense in some degree, is that maybe there's a world where Vladi potentially wants to make like an exit. Because it's like, in terms of, I don't want to take too much away from the phrasing, but the way he phrased himself was as if it's like the relationship was almost transactional, where
Nice.
maybe there's an element here of him being tired of being on KC. Maybe this experience the last months have been painful to him, similar to how Zeus eventually left T1. Maybe there's something in the air like that, because Vladi has a contract all the way to 2027. And I don't think that this is a player that is being paid super much either. So maybe there's a lot of elements at play that is outside of it. Maybe Vladi is thinking about making an exit at the end of the year or something like this. Maybe these are thoughts that he has, and maybe he wants to, have a different experience, maybe get paid more or do something else. Obviously, we're extrapolating a lot from the circumstance, but the fact that Niski comes in now, and the circumstance is that there is a world where Vladi maybe isn't on KC next year and he moves on to a different team, and him having that 2027 contract is a very, very long time. And if you're already tired of all the extra attention, basically KC is the equivalent of T1 regionally in terms of how you need to treat your fans, the fan sentiment, and the pressure you're under. And there are benefits to that, but there's also negative sides to that you need to have, you need to have a very, very, very broad shoulders to carry that and to manage that well. And that's not something that is for every player. But on the topic of Vladi, it's like, sure, he made a mistake here, but I understand where it comes from, right? It's like, in the end, he's like a 19-year-old. This is his third split, practically. It's like, it's in the beginning.
All right, Yamato, listen. Everything I say now, disclaimer, is pure speculation. I have no inside information. I'm not in any way breaking news here. But come with me as we step up to the mountaintop and dream of what might be possible for the future. Do you know what my actual dream is? It's toxic as fuck, but this is my dream. My dream is the real reason all this drama is going on now, Yamato, is because he knows behind the scenes next year, that Fnatic mid lane spot's right there, baby. You want to come and play with Upset and Razok? Let's right there, mate. KC, that's a French hobby. You want to be a legend of European esports? It's open. Humanoid Spunk's open. Do you want to come over, mate? That's the team to join. Go for it. Because I know what you mean. Like, put it this way, Kometo, by the way, is going to have to work overtime on this one. Because like I say, except if you win the split, man, I don't think fans are going to warm up to a player who's not French and has basically told them, like you said, the big fuck up was saying the word majority. Like, here's one thing as a very quick aside. I don't actually pretend like the majority of Karmine Corp fans are toxic. My problem is, though, I don't see messages from the nice ones. So my personal experience is only them saying shitty comments that I don't like. In the same way as I'll make a point that they should hopefully be able to understand. If they don't follow my content, and the only time they see my content is when another Karmine Corp fan links me saying some shit about Karmine Corp, it will make it seem like everything I say is negative about Karmine Corp. Yeah, I understand that. But the problem is, so when I say Karmine Corp fans, yeah, I mean the ones I interact with. But if you ever asked me explicitly, what percentage do you think it is? It's probably like 10% tops, isn't it? It's not really like, his problem was he took what he took as his experience and he made the mistake, because surely he knows this isn't right. It isn't really the majority that are doing those messages to you, Vladi, and pissing you off, mate. But if you say the majority, that means almost any other Karmine Corp fan who isn't doing that's going to be like, is he meaning me as well? What the fuck? Like, and I think if you do that, mate, it's going to be really hard to win them back over. Like, they're just going to hate you. And Niski's a really popular player. Maybe now they'll want him instead. Niski's not going to say some shit like that,
Oh, definitely. It's a tricky position. It's like there is a political game, It's like, that's why, it's very common for sports stars to say nothing.
Absolutely.
They just do their interviews. It's like, oh, the NBT played a good game. We could have played better, and that's all they say. You don't get. It's like they are PR trained. They're there to play ball. But here, Vlad is like streaming and doing all that jazz, and everything is a little bit, up close and personal. And I wonder how things are going to continue, because looking now on the gameplay side, it's like KC, all of their problems seem to be carrying over. It's like all the same problems. It's like I went through those games with just very, very carefully. And KC have this problem is that they are not connecting in the game. They're not playing on side lane together. Vladi is playing very isolated. Yike is playing very isolated. They're winning because like Kana and like the players are just doing individual good stuff. It's like even that series against Koi. Macro-wise, Koi was decimating them. At game 2, they were getting dragged around. They were getting outplayed left and right. They were just getting annihilated strictly macro-wise. And Koi, it's very clear that they have taken some good learnings from the internationals. Koi lost game 3 because of a smite steal and like a ridiculous Targamas engages of like angles. It's like, Joe, it's like, oh, if KC can find themselves in fight, they can win. But if anyone like decides to pull them apart, then they just look exactly the same as they did, of course, the previous split. How did they resolve that? I do think, like my framing of the LEC was that I think that G2 and Koi just had way better of an experience in the so-called off season that they can, like in the off season of LEC, meaning they were at internationals practicing. What the hell could KC do to improve regionally during that time? I don't know what the hell that could be. And it just seems like KC is starting off exactly where they left off. They got wins, so they're probably going to make worlds because they got to top their group and they just need to win one best of 5. You know, that's blessed and all, but in terms of winning the split, you know, it's going to be super, super tricky.
No, the sad thing is as well, this even reminds me a little bit of the regular split last split, which was you would win the games. They only lost to Fnatic basically, but every time you won, it's like you're just giving so many chances to the other team. And every vaguely good team, even the GX of the world, has a chance against you. Like, that's actually a little bit alarming, because I know what you mean, Yamato. To me, the problem KC's had the whole time since that first split when they were really good and they went to first stand is they've just, like, relied on the fact that, like, we're just better players, which is a classic trap to fall into. Like, you can't rely, by the way, on the idea Canna's going to be ahead every game, or that every time you have a team fight, you'll just outhands the other team. Like, one, that didn't work internationally, and two, it barely works in the LEC. Like, as you say, Koi absolutely could have won that series, mate. Like, that was right there on the table, and if you had that, it'd be egg on your face, as we're saying. You look stupid if they win that one.
And Koi on the other side, it's just like mechanically they are not executing.
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
have the problems.
they have the setups, they have the situations, they have the gold, they have the items, and then it's like just Orianna ults flying. I don't know what the hell. Like Elioa is doing some of these fights, missing smites, just mechanically misplaying. I don't know how you work your way out of that. You know, it's like usually you streamline what you play and you stick to a few champions, but macro-wise, there was a lot of good things about how Koi played. So there were a lot of nice, redeemable qualities about how they played. But it's kind of like if you could find a world where you merge Koi and KC, you would have an insane super team. Sure. That's where we're at, because Koi has the macro in the early game, and then KC has the team fighting and the laning. Because if my top laner is picking Aurora into Rumble and is losing the lane 1v1 to the point where Aurora gets dove, that's just not a playable game state. Like, that's not realistic at all to be in. Why on earth are we picking Aurora then? The enemy top lane is just better than you. And if that's the opening, the opening hand in this battle, that the enemy top lane is just that much better than you're going to have problems in the deeper runs of course the tournament. Because that's what's fun about LEC, is that we have 4 teams. They're all flawed in their own way, which brings us to Fnatic, because what are the Fnatic flaws, Thorin? they are looking pretty good.
I've got to say, so far, even though no one really expected it, like even my take was just more like, it was almost half Corp, which is that like, if Poppy just isn't Humanoid, maybe that helps. Maybe not having Humanoid, having like that weird attitude, or, it's like knowing what to do, but not telling you, and all the sorts of weird idiosyncratic things about that guy. Maybe that helps. But the joke is, as far as I can tell you, Marto, this is better than anyone could have hoped for. Like right now, Fnatic coaching staff looking like geniuses. Because do you know what the craziest thing of all is? Kira was telling me this. Supposedly, if you listen to the comms, he's also the one coming all the time, bro. He isn't doing what I thought, which is just shut the fuck up, just be like a quiet Korean kid, keep your head down and just CS in lane. Bro, he's like shot calling the game, and actually he's looking really good so far. Like, I know what you mean. This actually low key. It's why you're seeing also some quite extreme statements in the interviews. Like, bro, that Razork interview was mad. He's only just Humanoid's like, the joke is like, if you go to Popey's chair, it's still slightly warm from Humanoid being there 5 minutes ago, but Razork makes it sound like he's dead already. Like, and the divorce went through. He's like, yeah, oh, now I can finally sort of like play the game I want. I'm like, what what are all these comments? Like, so apparently everyone's drunk the Kool-Aid. They're all true believers. It's working though. Bro, here's the thing. Part of me scared this is like, that it works for 3 weeks.
The usual.
And then goes to nothing. But I'll tell you what, out the gate, it looks fantastic so far. Don't they just look like, for real, they could just be like top 2 team in the LEC, mate.
Like the opening series against Team Heretics, they looked like very nervous. It's like Razork blamed like the mouse, you know, having the wrong sensitivity, wrong DPI. That's what he blamed. But they looked very stiff in the first series against Team Heretics. But now, it's like after that game 3 that they played, it's like they're diving bot lane on the setups. They're playing good lane matchups. Mickey is on his bullshit again, like playing the tempo game beautifully, setting up traps. It just seems that they are on the same page on actually like doing things in the game. And also when they have good advantages, they actually played disciplined. And I think that there is very little more that you can ask. Maybe Oscarine can do a better job on playing like the weak side in terms of how much he gives and how much he takes in terms of the waves and how he controls it, because he's giving up a little bit too many kills. But in regards to how everybody else operates, it just seems that there's a clear buy-in from everybody and how they play. And I also listened to like the Fnatic voice comms, and I was very impressed by Poe, because in terms of how he spoke in the interviews, it seemed like his English was like getting there. So it's really, really like entry level, you know, solid, but still entry level. But then it seems like when it comes to like the in-game concepts, he has figured out those sentences already, you know, like in terms of like, oh, we want to fight here, we want to punish here.
People were listening to him. They were actually like following his calls. It's wild.
Yeah.
He's actually the shot caller.
I noticed, like without listening to the voice comms, I noticed that game where he played Oriana against a Nocturne, where one time he got isolated, he got killed, and then suddenly in the game they adjusted. Suddenly Razork and of course Mickey, they just opened on his lane, put down vision, defended him, and it's just refreshing to see Fnatic play this way. I think an additional detail that I can imagine is that from the coaching staff, Duffman as a person, he was the person who revitalized G2's macro gameplay. He actually made G2 a team that was more than just the early game centric team that snowballed with Kalista Draven and just won the whole league with like Ash Heimerdinger. He came into the team and revitalized them. And I do think I get the feeling that now with how Grabs managed things and the wake-up call that everybody involved got, that they are not safe in their seat and they are looking for replacements and they need to really take the chance that they do, also means that the coaching will also be more impactful. Because I do see like the Duffman flair to how they play. And I think that's super, super exciting in itself, is that if you get to the point where coaching and practice is actually relevant to how you perform and it's no longer random, it's also a super big plus, because it means that you can actively process.
Anything that someone can look for in the game? What are the hallmarks, do you think, of like a Duffman type team? What should we look for?
I think the main thing is just, it's like in terms of how the solo laners are capable of farming side.
Right.
In terms of how the support and the jungle open on the map and how quickly they base. Because you can see in Fnatic sequences, like jungle support push all the way. If the enemy leaves the tower, they press recall and instantly cross into the other side of the map, which just allows Poby to farm. Like Poby gets to farm super, super much. When you saw Fnatic in post-playoffs, it's like, oh, Humanoid gets caught on side. Oh, this guy gets caught here. Like, what is the cohesiveness? Like, when are we on the same point? When are we in the same timer in the game? I think that's like the main thing. Because I think an even bigger and better example is like the switch up between 2023 G2 and 2024 G2. That was like the G2 where Broken Blade and Caps were just like pushing deep side waves. And no matter what, teams in Europe couldn't figure out how to beat them, and they could just stall out games and games and games because they always got the side waves first. And this is just Duffman's doing. Like, I know that Duffman is the type of coach that specializes in things that interest him, and that is like the macro mid game and the setup preparation for the Drakes, and that's his thing. That's his wheelhouse. I think that's like a great approach for any like a coach or assistant coach or anyone that is striving to do something. Just become an expert on one thing. Become an expert on one thing. Be the one that shares that to teams and bring that to teams. Don't be the person that just wants to be good at everything, because you're not gonna be the best at anything. Then you're just gonna be average. And I think what Duffman does finally it's clear, because last split we didn't see this shit at all.
Also, if no one saw, this is where Poby has actually turned out to sort of have like crazy depths we didn't even know about Yamato. Not only is he like shot calling fanatic and people like Razork around the map and they're like, hey, this is really good. But also he's like carrying the fucking banter of the league too. Like that thing where he just said on Twitter to Nook, like basically called him like a monkey or something like, fuck, you know. Listen, I'm loving it on the one hand, Yamato, I'm loving it because he's shit talking Nuke. That used to be my shit, believe it or not, Poby, but I appreciate it. But then also the only thing I have one little detail to add in though, and I don't know how you feel about this, so I want to get your take on this. I do always get a little bit nervous though, Yamato, where like an Asian, and I'm not talking about like, you know, a guy who's like second generation, he lives in America and then he like happens to be like, you know, ethnically Chinese or Korean. I'm talking about like a real Chinese or Korean person who was born there and is only in a Western region because they're playing League of Legends. I get really nervous though when Western players and teammates and fans tell them all shit like, oh, trash talk like this, call him like a bitch or whatever, you know, because even though they think it's funny, right, the problem, like in this scenario, calling people monkeys, Yamato, is I can tell you from personal experience, you fuck around and call the wrong person that, mate, it's going to go from really funny to really tragic really quickly. So I just hope on that one that they're not doing that thing. Like, don't egg him on too much. Let him just go safely into this area, because there's certain people where he's going to say that and then it's all going to be sad. He's going to get cancelled, isn't he? Come on.
To be fair though, Nook was the one who dropped the monkey. Like, he basically told, the first opening post was, I'm going to show you what's up. You basically just lane against monkey so far, which I thought, I also thought was mental. I was like,
pretty wild.
bro, you know, this is like, I don't take offense to it, and no one should, but I understand why, from a PR sense, this is shit.
Just dangerous. Just dangerous, you know, you never know.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I like Poby. You know, the main thing, my main concern as well is that he came off of playing in Korean solo queue. He came from playing Challenger. He came from maintaining he came in with good form right away. I'm interested to see how he maintains. Obviously, the skill vampires aren't as heavy-handed in the LEC as they are on LTA, but I'm also intrigued to see like how he would perform on a big stage. You know, it's like in front of like a super big crowd. Like these are new things that he will have to experience. But so far, I think he's exceeded everyone's expectation in terms of how good he has played. And
I mean, he's only got one game in the group left, mate. He's got G2. Mate, imagine if he actually walks in the LEC and just beats Caps and it's like, I guess you are monkey too. Or something like, fucking hell, mate. The guy must be a god. Like, at that point, just fucking get a throne ready. He's here. Poby is here. Also, by the way, even low-key, this does make me think even less of the West, though. We were all banging on Poby the whole time. He's absolute trash. He's even good at the game when he plays Faker 2 years ago. Now he's just walked into our region. He's just bossing it. Like, if this wasn't actually this format, this motherfucker would be like the MVP of the split or something.
Definitely, yeah. I wanted to highlight that too. He's been farming all of the homies. You know, he hasn't like. The Caps would be the first test, but even now, Caps' form didn't look that good. Like, Caps was getting outlaned by Camilo. That shouldn't happen. It's like, if I see Caps playing Orianna Victor matchup, I expect him to smoke him. And not the other way around, or Camilo's winning, because I see Camilo and Abadagi as like the worst two mid laners in the league. I see Camilo as the problem on Team Heretics that is holding them back from, you know, greener pastures, and the Caps wasn't looking good. So if there was any time to do it, to build, you know, like a trampoline of confidence and just jump off of Caps, this is the time to do it. Because looking at this matchup, I don't see why I wouldn't favor Fnatic based on what we've seen. If you want to take historical pretense and so forth, I think that's fair to put G2 as a favorite. But gameplay-wise, no nameplate, Fnatic has looked a lot better than G2.
No, amazingly, I didn't think I would say this, Yamato, but this actually feels like they've given me a new, fresh feeling to Fnatic, and they've upgraded it. It's a bit like actually HelloFresh itself. You probably know from past adverts. You think you know everything about HelloFresh. You know about the great ingredients and the chef-crafted meals. Well, I've got some news for you, because this is a new HelloFresh. It has been upgraded, and they've done their biggest menu upgrade yet, because they've doubled their menu, so it's now a bigger menu. You can choose from 100 options each week, including seasonal dishes and recipes from around the world. So you can also just get into more types of food you never had before. It is healthier. So now you can get more like high protein, veggie packed recipes. They've got all sorts to help you eat your greens and get 2 or more veggies in each sort of a meal. And In theory, it's even tastier because you can get steak, seafood delivered every week, no extra cost. There's 3 times more seafood on the menu now at no additional cost. Discover new seasonal produce each week, from snap peas to stone fruit to corn on the cob and more. So, how do you get it, you ask? Well, the best way to cook just got better. Go to hellofresh.com/LFN10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life, 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's hellofresh.com/LFN10FM to get 10 free meals and a free item for life. Shout out to HelloFresh. Also, it's quite cool that they're actually always actively trying to change up the menu, keep it going. As I've pointed out, one of the best things actually is where you like just keep it going in the background and you like increase more at the time when you want more. You cycle through different dishes. You don't have to have the same things, but if you like the same things, you can. Shout out to HelloFresh. They obviously keep things fresher than even Fnatic themselves are. Right. The only thing is, though, the obvious team for me that I feel like is on the outside looking in is GX, though, bro. GX, listen, it's been the narrative the whole year, Yamato. They are the ones, that's why Kyoto talked shit at the beginning of the year. They started at the beginning of the year really well. They even had times last split where they were doing work at the home stands. This is the team that I've always felt like is supposed to make it like a big 5. It's not supposed to be the big 4, because I agree with you. If you take the big 4 names, even then G2 looks like they're threatening to drop out of that. But you take the big 4, what makes them cool, I agree, is they each have like a core strength the other one doesn't have. But then they each have like a fatal flaw. It's like some fucking... It's actually, the joke is, League, the game, terribly balanced. The actual LEC League, very well balanced right now. Got a good mix match. It works. The problem with GX is they always look like they're just about to enter. They're always so close to beating teams, bro. They're always in matches. Like, it's funny. I talk like I only care about the top 4. I don't really. If I was telling the truth, if I had a gun to my head, Yamato, I care about the top 4, I care about GX, and then I care about probably Vitality. But if I actually look out at players, there's a world where Heretic's got a better mid lane and maybe I'd care about them. You know, if BDS actually, the roster ever works, maybe I'll care about them. The problem is, though, I do on some level still care about GX. Like, I do look at that squad and I'm like, actually, there is still a world where you should be able to, like, get some upset wins. You should be able to challenge the top. What do you think of where this squad's at the moment?
GX, I said, Isma, I think he's playing some of his greatest league. The main thing that hurts me about this team, I think it's so close to being good. It's just that I think the biggest disappointment is Jackie's. What is Jackie's doing?
True.
Like, Jackie's, for me, it's like the way I framed the conversation around Fnatic in their offseason. I was like, they should have gotten Jackie's. That would have been an exciting prospect. Put him on a team that is elevated with strong players and see how fast he grows.
Yeah.
But now, like, he has had some games where he just borderline like solo lost it. And I thought that he was going to be the mid laner that keeps up and stands up. But
what do you think one of the weirdest things about
just...
Yamato is he has like a vibe to me of like a solo queue player, bro. It doesn't look like he connects with the team. He just does his own plays.
But he's just the equivalent of European Zeka right now. Like, he just had like periods and stints where he was like really good, that gets you excited. On like the Zeri or the Yone, and like he has games where he's competitive. And now he like resorts back to those picks, like the Silas game where he picked it where it was horrible to pick it, and just borderline like just solo lost the game, which was super disappointing. There's some matchups, I just have a way higher expectation of him because I do think other things are falling into place for him. Like, he carried games when his team was weak, and now his team is better, and now he's underperforming. It's just a very, very bad timing. Because I think that could have been the difference between them maybe winning some of these series.
They could win some of these series, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And it would have changed everything, because the issue now is that the format doesn't allow you to get away with this. Maybe if this was the opening series in the previous format, I would be like, oh, this is exciting. This is something they can build on. But now you're going to be thrown into the lower bracket right away. The top 4 teams have an immense advantage. The advantage is ridiculous in terms of how much you get away, because you're basically 1 BO5 away from Worlds, and then you have to do the lower bracket run from the other teams. I think it's tough, because definitely I think Noah, June, Isma, like they are playing. I think Lot is also solid. He's finding angles to play. Mechanically, this is a team that can keep up, but like the main thing is this is supposed to be the split where Jackie's like proves himself again. He's supposed to become a big fish here, but it just seems like the pond is too big for him now.
To echo what you're saying, if someone went back in time a year ago to the summer split of last year, there were two players, Yamato, who were in the league. There was Jackie's on the XL team, and then there was Vladi had just been added to Karmine Corp. And at the time, they were both similar sorts of players. They're like players that clearly have like aggressive playing styles, mechanical players. They also like playmaking champions, clearly. And at the time, initially, Jackie's was actually the better of the two, mate. He was the one who'd had time to develop in XL. And he was popping off, mate. He was having like games where I always told people there are so many times I would bet on them, but it wouldn't be the bet of like they win the series. It would be the one if they just win one game. Because I'm like, mate, give him his pick, give him the Zeri, and he'll win a game. He'll just carry one. So if you told me a year later, I mean, Vladi himself's having his issues, but that Vladi's the much more respected player who's in a better position, he can play that would almost seem like what happened to Jackie's. Because I'm with you. I actually thought, look, he's in a tougher spot than Vladi. He has a worse team in theory, and all, but at the same time, he doesn't have like a bad roster though, mate. Like you can have your question marks about some of the top side players, especially the jungler. But I think he's got a very stable bot lane who's playing together now for a long time. You know exactly how they're going to play the game. You've got a coach, by the way, who's a very veteran coach and wants to win and will enable star play. I'm with you. I actually think, unfortunately, it's not just like, oh, he's stuck in GX. Like he's now one of the problems in GX. Like if he actually played the way his potential looked like and had developed in this last year, like he could have done, he could be like a very good player right now at LEC. I know what you mean. He sort of I think for me, his development sort of stalled a little bit. I thought he would be further on the line by now, mate.
It's just, I remember earlier in the year, me and Dom did a Sackdown episode with him. And we basically like raised the questions, like how would we rate the teams and the mid laners? And, and me and Dom were very honest with him, you know, like where we rated DX and his team. And it was like very low because he rated himself very high. And I don't know if it's correct. I think it's just coincidental.
Like, who does he think he's better than? Who does he think he's better than?
Like, I'm trying to remember at the time, but like he was very, he really believed in like GX and the team. Like, but obviously it's like you talk about your team and you talk about yourself. You need to put up that front. But ever since then, I feel like there's been like a steady kind of decrease in performance from Jackie's, because now at this point it's like this is the team to do it. This is the time to do it. There's like your season's gonna be over in a couple of weeks. This is the time to be good and to be performing. And I'm in pain for him, you know, because I do think keeping the perspective that players can be good for one split and maintaining that is really, really difficult. I think I wish that the community held on to that more, because something that I've been wrestling with now is like people telling me, like, why is Milky Way Elo held? It's like, no, he was great 2024 spring split, and then he's had a steady downfall ever since. People need to let go of that and hold on, like let go of that. Maybe this is the time for us to let go of the past too, because at this point I need Jackie's to prove himself again.
Oh, great. Agreed. Because I put it this way, I know what you mean, because I'll give you the obvious example now. He's another one of those names that if we went back earlier in the year, maybe I would be picking him as like, he should replace Humanoid and Fnatic and get his chance, you know. But I know what you mean. Right now, I wouldn't give him it. Like right now, I don't know that he'd even use those pieces. Like, the joke is, even though we've only seen 2 weeks of him, Porby looks better right now. He really does. And he's better for the team. So why would I make that move? That's another thing I also want to throw out there, by the way. This is something I had to tell some of my players I like for given an upset back in the day, is even if you are actually a good player on a bad team, like you have a team that does hold you back, you can never win with this team, a certain player's just bad, or certain interactions just don't work in the game. Listen, you can like look good in losses, but it can never look like you're selfishly looking good in losses, Yamato. Because I'll tell you what, that is what will make those bigger teams not want to take a chance on you. Because they'll just even say that as Corp. They'll be like, well, yeah, you're good, but it's because you're just like not playing the proper team concept, or you're not trying to do the. In a way, even though it's going to be really hard to do, you have to still like buy into the concept, even if it means you die and look silly sometimes. That actually will go a long way, because if I am if I'm going to gamble on this guy, I have to believe that when I put him in a top team, he's not going to do it. Because I'll tell you a player that it scares me about when I think about this sort of player, and it is, if you remember, the rise of Vetio. Mate, didn't we all look on Misfits and go, this guy's fucking unbelievable? Bro, give him a squad. Wouldn't he be sick? And what we learned was certain flaws maintain even in bigger squads. Even when he was on super teams, he had certain aspects of the game that didn't work, and that wasn't because his teammates and Misfits were shit. You put entirely new teammates around him and the same problem occurred. So I think if you notice, people are a little bit more tempered now on like newer LEC talents. We don't just crown them immediately. People wait to see if they're going to fall. Because I know what you mean. Like at the end of this split, Jackie's could be right back where he began when he came in the LEC. Like, you're just an all right player that came in the LEC. You have some good games, but the top teams aren't going to hunt you, mate. You're stuck at this spot. which is sad because if you play your cards right this year, you could be in like a fucking top 3 team next year. That was right on the table, I think. Think about how many things went differently this year. Jojo started the year all rough. Humanoid himself was never going to be there forever. Who the fuck? By the way, I doubt Caps is retiring, etc. So maybe G2's not, but everyone else in theory has got teams that are. Maybe Vladi's even going to be benched. Who knows? Like, again, you know what I said earlier in the episode? This is a perfect example of someone to apply it to. Jackies. Bro, if you'd have actually been ready for this opportunity now and you looked like the best player, not called fucking Caps basically in mid lane, you would probably get an amazing offer for next season. But instead, people are going to look and go, nah, maybe I'll wait a bit on that. Let's see how he does next year. They're not going to gamble on you. And I do think that's rough because I also think this is why I've defended Giotto so much. Because I look at his roster and he's not supposed to be top 3 with his roster. Come on, bro. So I actually like the idea he's willing to talk shit and stimulate the scene. I know he's working with lesser players, but I also think if you're a good coach, you can get more out of them than you expect, you know. So I want GX to be good, but like I said, they always just come right up to the borderline of being good and then take a step back for me at the last second.
You know, I don't follow Giotto for this year, but I have to look at Team Liquid. I have to look at Origin. I have to look at Schalke. These teams didn't make worlds, man. These are super rosters that didn't make worlds. You know, these are the ones that I hold them accountable for. For this year, I think fair play. I think they are where they are supposed to be, you know, in terms of the context of it all. But if they want to break it through, Jackies needs to step up to the plate. But the issue is, like, I want to just highlight the format. There's a world where they play 2 more series for the rest of the year. They play Navi and they won BO5, and then suddenly they're out because they don't have a Guardian Angel. Like, how ridiculous is that? That the year might be over in just no time.
I just appreciate, I forgot about that, Yamato. I forgot that you're basically on that shit of like, Giotto, brother, you had fucking Bjergsen and Bwipo and Hansama, and you are not making worlds? You had Mithy and fucking Patrick and all these others, and Nuke Dog, no worlds? I am only making worlds with Checks Notes, Attila, Gilius, Adam top lane, Rollswap, Bwipo. Okay, I see how it is, Yamato. I see how it is, homie.
Yeah,
right.
It is. Oh, shit, okay. Bro. I thought you were lining up to flame me somehow, you know? I thought you're lawyering up here.
If you're using that one angle, technically you can actually talk shit to Giotto about that. Like, as you say, you had some, like, undervalued name rosters that went to Worlds, mate. He did have some giant rosters that were supposed to be in the Women in Finals, but they never got, you're right, they never got there. They never got there, mate. They always felt the last hurdle. They always felt the last hurdle. It's not looking good now either, I'm telling you. So that might be another year, I'm afraid. I'll add that on the list. Do you know what would be spicy? I'll throw it out there just to be mad. Sadly, I actually think this is the end of Humanoid's career. I think that in itself is sad, Yamato. If he really doesn't give a fuck and he doesn't play anymore at the end of his contract. Do you know why I think it's sad? Because if he still cares, here's what would be cool. Why can't Humanoid be like the GX mid laner or the Herex mid laner or the Vital? You know what I mean? Mate, you could still be a fucking good player in this league. And if you go to the right team, by the way, maybe Mac and Pad are the guys you need. Maybe Giotto, who knows? If you get the right coaches, you could actually make the league way more fucking hype too. I actually low-key, look, if his heart isn't in it, Yamato, then yeah, okay, retire. Go for it. This isn't sports where you just play for 10 years more so you can have a nice pool and your kids can go to a fucking private school. If you don't care, leave. But if you care at all, mate, fucking Humanoid absolutely could still be a viable player. And he could make, and if there's like he could make another team good. He could make a team a playoff team or put them in the hunt for worlds, you know. Don't you think so?
He's so insanely talented. He's one of the most talented European players of all time. Like, I think he's
great.
Like Caps, the main issue, the difference between Caps and everybody else is that he was insanely talented, and also he has the head in the best place possible, you know, like in terms of enjoying the game, the joy for the game, and just being in it for all of the right reasons. He just wants to win, be on the best team possible, and that's all he cares about. So it's just a mix of all of these things. Humanoid has talent comparable to that, but like on the outside in terms of the leadership and being a teammate and the motivation being in the right place. Because, you know, if history looked a little bit different, if there was a world where, let's say, Fnatic decided, you know, moving into, let's say, 2024, I'm trying to keep track of which year it is, 2025 now, but let's say they moved into 2024, they moved on for Fnatic. They picked up Jackies, Fnatic picked up Jackies, and then Humanoid was picked up by the revitalized, you know, Elioya, Alvaro, and all of a sudden Humanoid's on that team, Like all of a sudden, I think that everything would just look so different because I think Humanoid would work super well together with Elioya again and on a team that just has a no bullshit policy. I feel like in that team in terms of how they approach things. I think he would thrive in such an environment. But then it's just the timing of it all, and then like Fnatic continuing. In the end, that was bad for Fnatic, but also bad for him. But I'm with you. If there's ever a time, if he comes back and he comes back the right way, I really believe like Humanoids is the type of player that is insanely good. Like, I think the talent is just all there, but it needs to be for the right reasons, definitely.
Oh, I'm with you. I also think because I hope people realize. I might not think Humanoid was responsible in Fnatic, and I think in Fnatic he had times to let himself and he let the team down. But people have got to stop this like ridiculous thing where you're either the best player or you're like the most subhuman trash who can ever play the game ever. Like, if you're a player of that level, it's actually one of the things I don't like about League is that in general people do just like shoot for the top, or they just say, fuck it, and just retire. Like, in a weird way, even though I know this didn't work out very well in reality, I do want the Double Fs and the Bjergsons, once they're not winning anymore, to still play for a couple extra years, so that then the joke is then a Masao or a Quid gets to play against you and get his level up and his rep up, and then he can, that's how you transition to the next era of stars in the league. It's kind of sad if you're just like, I don't win anymore, I retire. It's a bit like boxers, like the ones that just retire once they lose the title finally. It's like, I want to see you fight a couple more times, mate. Have like a legacy fight, have a cool one for the fans, just pick an entertaining opponent, And I just think, I agree with you. I think as much as you can criticize, I don't know, let's say commitment to the game or how he dealt with his teammates or what sort of a leadership figure he was, you cannot criticize Humanoid's talent level. I agree with you, mate. It's why I do think, and sadly you've coached a bunch of them, I do think along with people like Self-Made, etc., these are just fabulously talented figures. And I'm sorry, it is an absolute tragedy when they don't make use of that talent, when they're never able to get, because I agree, the real secret, the real mastery that someone like Caps has isn't even how good he is at the game. It's that he got all the gifts in terms of like the ability and the talent, but then he didn't get the curse of like the bad attitude. Do you know what I mean? It's why there's certain players in history, like, almost no one gets it all. That's the thing. Caps is one of the rare ones where he's simultaneously loves the game, doesn't have a bad attitude, he's fucking awesome at it, and he also likes to practice. Normally, you have one of those is missing. Like, I'll give you an example. So my favourite player was Froggen, obviously. Listen, really good player. Mega diligent, by the way. He would even play in the whole off-season if he didn't qualify for Worlds. His problem was, maybe he wasn't the best leader, maybe he wasn't as good interacting with teammates and stuff. Sometimes you get the guy where they can play the game loads, but they're actually just not good at the game. They put in all the hours, but there's talents there. So rare you get them all. So Humanoid's just another sad victim of that, where it's like a could have been guy. But the idea this is the end of his career is whack. Surely it isn't. Surely not. Even if, like I said, here's the other one. Surely he can just go away, take next year off. Consider at the end of the year, if you don't like it, if you enjoy having time off, yeah. But maybe you come back in 2027. How about that? Maybe you have 1 year off, it resets you. You figure out what you want from the game still. You come back. By the way, at this point in time, an obvious angle for him, I think, would be pick someone you want to play. Do you want to play with Kazi again? Then you two get on a team. Figure out there'll be a mid-late level team that would take both of you. Get on that squad. Get the right jungler to fit your style of play. Get a coach that buys into your strengths and make a fucking squad. You can still play. It's also, like I said earlier, you can have new talents come in the league, but they're not going to be Humanoid. We also can't just lose our talents like that, bro. We can't just have them just fuck off and leave the whole region. We need these players to make the other people sharp, to make all the squads good.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking, like I said, if you think of like a Heretics tech team, mate, if they had Humanoid, they would actually be a good team. Can you imagine
100%.
that team with like Shio? Like, that team would fucking cook, bro.
100%, yeah. But we just need to be a patient version of Humanoid. I'm with you 100%. The passing of the torch is so important.
I agree.
In terms of, it's like the transition. It's like how the Greeks lived. It's like first you were a student, and then you were a soldier, and then a politician or whatever, philosopher. I think it's the same in esports. Like first you're a player, then you should keep playing until the point where you transition into a coach, and then you transition into a head coach. That transition happens in Korean esports, and that's why like you have all these legendary players coaching now. It's like that passing of the torch in Europe is like the big hiccup, and the pain in performance is still that year 2020 moving into 2021, where we had like Nemesis disappearing, Perks fucking off to North America because G2 blocked it, And it was just like the dissolution of like that legacy continuing and building onto something, and that can really put the hurt on, especially in the context of Perks, because he was masterminding all the GMing for the longest time. Just imagine a world where Perks joined my Fnatic that year, and Reckless would have stayed with Hilly, and all of a sudden it's like we have a team that can crush maybe the G2, and then Upset would be on G2, and then all of a sudden we have like this rivalry that is completely nuts and insane. But in the end, the trajectory just went entirely different.
No, I'm with you. Like, one of the saddest things is, in Europe, especially mid lane, has been the role where we've produced all these amazing, like, generations of players. And if you think there was that generation where at the same exact time you had Caps, fucking Nemesis, Humanoid, Niski, Larson, all at the same time, but Vethio was coming up. Like, that fucking period looked amazing. Whereas you look now, and it's like we've had to reset because Nemesis fucked off, stopped competing. Humanoid did whatever he's done with his career the last few years, which is a bit whack. Larson's just got worse and his team's terrible. Niski's not even an active player. Perks is fucking gone. Like, we've had to just reset, and people always need to remember, even though we criticised them earlier, Jackies and Vladi are still essentially rookies to me, but they're really young in their careers. Like, at least in Vladi's case, he's been accelerated because he got to, like, be in the championship already, he got to go to first stand already. Like, he's had some extra experiences, but these people, like, realistically, it still took people like Nemesis and Larson all Humanoid years to get to the peak they were at, where they could get close to Caps, you know. So I also agree. You just can't waste talent. If you want to look at a region and you want everyone to be good, you need that talent also to play each other. You need them to, like, push each other to the next level. Because I don't know about you, Yamato, but I really do believe that. You know, when fans who are classic, you know, you were saying earlier, the Messi Ronaldo thing, right? You know, there's a temptation if you're a fan of a player like that to say this dreaded line that I think is wrong, but I get the temptation. The temptation goes like this, Yamato. You go, I'll give you an example. If you're a Messi fan, you go, if there was no Ronaldo, Messi would have just won like 12 Ballon d'Ors, and, you know, he would have been like the GOAT player from, like, complete. But the point is, I don't actually think that's true. I actually think, from observing these players, the rivalry is part of what keeps you locked in with any of these players. I really do think Messi and Ronaldo pushed each other. I do think, like, you know, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. I think all these people, like, that's what keeps you sharp, mate. That's what means even when you win, you don't just go, well, I can chill out now. You know that guy's coming for you next time to get the title, and he wants it bad. And then when he gets it, mother, if he gets on top of this rivalry, maybe he takes over and wins everything. Like, I think that's the best experience. Why the real tragedy, by the way, of Rogue being destroyed was that they destroyed the roster right after they finally beat G2. Mate, I can tell you, I will bet G2 were the happiest people ever after that off-season. Bro, they not only changed their roster, but, like, they would have had their own psychological wound if you'd have had a real Rogue roster the next team, where they'd have had to, like, overcome you. They didn't have to, because you cut your own balls off, as it were. You destroyed your own chances. So, no, I think it's just sad. Just a sad state of affairs.
It's also so evident it's like Frogen was the point of inspiration for everybody. How many Danish mid laners did we have?
Of course.
Jankos was the point of inspiration. How many Polish junglers do we have?
Yep.
Faker as a point of inspiration. How many insane Korean mid laners have we had? You know, it's like
That's how you know all the Slovenian support players are really lazy. GiantX is just doing it. Where are you all? You're fucking watching. Slovenian support, whoever you are. Whoever you are. There's only one of you, apparently, but don't worry about it. It's all good.
Nice. Something I wanted to highlight is just in regards to the other teams, because Vitality, like Vitality BDS, I feel like we need to talk about these two a little bit at least, because Vitality,
they should be better on paper. Come on, they should be better than they are. Sure.
I don't know. I feel like we've reached a point now where I am even getting, like, so disappointed by how Kazi is playing, you know?
He's had a bad half a year, mate. Yeah.
I don't know if it's gotten to the point where it's like him, like, extending his hand every day, waiting for something to happen. Maybe there's, like, insane fatigue there, but right now it's like Kazi moved from being a player that in some off season was like, oh, any team should want him. And then he decided to stay with the Vitality roster and do this thing here. But it's like he's losing all his credibility too. It's like coming into the next offseason, I don't see why people should be like super excited about Kazi. Like, the other names are just doing better, and he's not really doing anything that stands out. And at times, even a liability on this team. It's like, I don't know what Vitality are doing in terms of their identity too, because another detail is the fact that like in terms of how they set up their team, like in the first initial games, I'm like, why the hell is Nakanako playing tanks? Do you have any understanding of what makes your teams good or bad? I just don't know what Vitality, like Mac and Pad, what have they built over the last 2 years? This was supposed to be the 2-year project where certain decisions were made. They acquired Linsas on like a buyout, and they had this vision of everything, how everything is going. And this is supposed to be the period where you are reaping the reward. What is the reward? It's just more of the same. You brought in Niski as a support. You brought in Fleshy that is not solving any of your problems because he's not good enough. You burnt Hilly completely. You made all the decisions along the way. You burnt Douglas and you brought in Linsas. It's like what did we gain here? And it comes back to that statement from Neil, it's like we don't get top 4, the coaches are fired, but it's like I get it, it's just how it needs to be because these 2 years have been very wasteful. And I imagine from Vitality side, it's like they haven't had a great year since 2018, and that must sting.
Put it this way, one of the things I was saying to Peter Dunn on the Best Damn League show about this exact move, because he also was talking about this topic, is this is why if you're Kazi, you can actually be like too good a teammate sometimes. Because this guy took 2 years of his actual prime as an ADC and just burned them on Hylissang. And Hylissang irresponsibly inted a whole bunch of those splits away and meant that no matter how well Kazi played, like I used to think it when in those Mad Lions and then this Vitality roster, Kazi must have had the most crazy mental fortitude of any player because it looked like he would still just play the game properly. Hylissang would fuck up the game and int it, and then he'd just lose and go, it's all right, Hylissang, we'll get him tomorrow, pal, and then give him behind. But the reason why I bring this up is because it also means that initially, when this team was doing bad this year, we also still all focused on Hylissang. And I wonder now if we went back, Yamato, if I went back last split and the split before that, and I looked when he had Niski, I looked when he had Hylissang, I wonder if I could already still see some of the cracks of Kazi. Because I think a lot of us were giving him a pass. We were like, it's not your fault, Hylissang. It's Niski's brand new to the role. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's sending it in. But part of me wonders, because I have to say, that was your get out of jail free. We all knew you didn't have like a top support player or a proper support player. Now, you have no excuse now. You just have to play real League of Legends. And unfortunately, it looks like that period when you were amazing is gone. That's a year or two ago now. Sad.
I think like the way I would describe Hilly from working with him 2 years is the equivalent of, let's say, it's like if your cat is sick, it's not gonna show you, it's not gonna tell you.
Okay.
You just have to figure it out. And if you manage to decipher it, then it's really, really rewarding. But usually it's like on every team Hilly's been on, him underperforming has always been like the canary in the coal mine of something being, inherently wrong. I think at times when I spoke to Hilly, he didn't even understand it either, but he's actively trying to win the game at a level that he believes should be played. And in that process is going to do shit that looks super, super dumb. And obviously I'm super biased because I love Hilly. I get that. I can say that, and everyone's going to say that too. But Hilly as a player, definitely, when he underperforms, is usually it's like the roots. There's something underneath that is not being addressed. And if you don't manage to address that when Hilly is gone, everything kind of comes to light in a different way. Because there were times with Hilly, it's like if his teammates are not like finding the engagers, not taking fights, and they're just slowly bleeding, he's not going to tolerate that. He's not a player that tolerates he's going to try something just to do something rather than to die slowly. And at times that can be a very problematic thing because some teams you just beat by doing less and doing nothing. And you will lose games that you shouldn't be losing because you can get away with playing, let's say, worse than what Hilly aspires for. But I do think it pains me how Hilly's career ended because it's like, what was the point of all of this? I don't think Fleshy is super exciting. Like Fleshy, I can't even count him as a rookie, right? It's like this is a player that's been around for a very long time. He's been playing super, super long, and he has experience playing in EMEA Masters and so forth. The same way I wouldn't call like the Koi players when they came through after being on Movie Star, like plain and simple rookies. Like the story of Kalist and Vladi are very different because they're very young, they're very young and impressionable. So it's very different. And this is one of those cases where I think it's the same. I don't know where Vitality go from here because I think coming into next year, they just need to rebuild again.
Now, I would like to switch topics and discuss what is going to be an infrequent but occasional segment on this show. We've referenced it in the past, Yamato. I'll paste it here so it's easy for you to see. But if you could please refer. They're back at it again. A WhatsApp community is at it again. Yamato, I still don't know who is the WhatsApp community of League of Legends. At this point, I think I might have to set you some homework. I need you to infiltrate the WhatsApp community and find out, is this real? Where is it? What happens there? Because LOL Esports can't stop doing these fucking polls of their apparent LOL Esports WhatsApp community again. I don't even know who uses WhatsApp like that, but okay, apparently people do. And they've done another one of their infamous polls. And this one said, who is the most underrated pro player of all time? Interesting question, by that. So I thought we'd bring it up. And the winner in this poll actually is Owner from T1. Now, I'll just let you answer first. What do you think of that? What do you think of him being the most underrated pro? Obviously, look, there's going to be some recent spies, but what do you think of that? Is that a reasonable pick, do you think?
I think it's really unreasonable because it comes from a place, because I know where this comes from. It comes from a place where people want the community to rate Owner as the best jungler of all time.
Oh, right.
That's where it comes from.
Right, I see what you mean.
That's I know exactly where these votes come from. Because these are people that think that Owner is better than Canyon. These are the people that think Battle is better than Carrier. You know, these are the people. So I recognize this. I can clock these people from a mile away, and I think that from that lens, it doesn't make any sense because Owner is a player that constantly gets praised, especially the last couple of years. In the first years of ZFGK, he got a lot of flack, but rightfully so. He was very inconsistent. He had like regular season games that were just bad, and then he like stepped up to the plate in playoffs, and then sometimes played very bad in finals. I remember there was this whole meme about Owner and Carrier and him never ganking bot. Like everyone remembers that at MSI, where his bot lane got dove and they couldn't play matchups, and the enemy jungle was just breaking the bot lane. Yeah, like Owner was kind of lost on the map. Like he was getting criticized, rightfully so. And now that he's playing consistent, he's playing well, he's being praised, rightfully so. I don't think that there is ever a situation where a T1 player can ever be underrated just because of how the community
I know what you mean.
I don't think that can ever be true.
Because here's what's funny. I initially wasn't as against this because I wasn't thinking like from the T1 fan angle. And if I was thinking, like, for example, I do think this year, T1's had so much drama when they've had times where they weren't the best team in Korea, that I do think this year he might have been like mildly underrated because I thought he was awesome the whole year, man. I think this might be the best year of his career, in my opinion. I think he looked fucking great almost every week I see him play. He's also doing it in all senses. Like his intuition's great on the map. His hands look phenomenal, by the way. Like he's had a really good champion pool. He's actually quite adapted quite well to Fearless, it looks like. So in that sense, but I know what you mean. If people are doing it for like, he's actually the best jungler ever, like, well, then you've gone way too far the other way on that one. Like he isn't. Spoiler, he isn't. Like you just like Canyon, in my opinion, does clear him by quite a lot. I don't even know if I'd have him top 3 junglers of all time. There's been some really amazing jungle players who've been very special at that role. When I look at this list, here's what's funny, Yamato. I think this is why I joke about who is the League of Legends WhatsApp community. I think this list is pleb as fuck. Like the idea like Expecki and Nemesis are here, or Beryl. People say Beryl's the fucking GOAT support. Like, here's what's funny. The actual name, I think, is the obvious one on this list that should win, in my opinion, but it didn't. It has 2%. It's Xiao Hu. Bro, Xiao Hu is the most underrated, because if people don't get it, remember, I'll just point out again, this guy won MSI back when it was him and Uzi. He won MSI when he was a top laner playing fucking Lucian and shot calling. Then he won MSI where he was a mid laner again with like fucking Gala as the ADC and Bin as top lane. This guy just fucking he made a Worlds Finals when he had no business to. He made LPL Finals when he had no business. He's been the MVP of the MVP. This guy actually, like, of all the names on that list, I feel like he's easily the most underrated, mate. Like, he's got an unbelievable resume, an insane body of work. Like, for me, I think he should be in everyone's top 10 league players ever. Like, I think he's unbelievable. But I feel like when I in my brain think of fan opinions, I don't think fans have him anywhere close to that, mate. Like, I feel like for fans, I feel like they forget he even exists, mate. I think if you ask them, like Chinese Midland, they just think of Knight. That's it. I think this guy's always been somewhat slept on. So I'm kind of shocked that he's not even top 3 on this, mate. Like fuckers like Nemesis has more than him. Like Nemesis doesn't even play League of Legends. He's playing fucking like for fun on a stream team. Like surely it's Xiao Hu. Come on, that resume is mad slept on.
Zhao is a very, very strong pick. It's like I think Zhao Hu is borderline faker with worse teammates in terms of like what he's been and his longevity and how he has performed as a player and rose to the occasion. And then, of course, the caveat that he has had international performances, and the reason that the moniker Spring King is for a reason, right? That's like the main takeaway.
He's had some bad runs himself for sure. Yeah.
But I think like Perks is also a great shout. There's always these players like these players that have like a bad year, and that's the memory that sticks. It's like,
well, I mean, in his case, the thing you have to realize as well, Yamato, is Perks already had some dodgy players in Cloud9. That was 2021. So if someone's a new fan, they don't remember the real Perks, mate. They think he just was overrated or he was like some gassed up player, right?
And it's like we know Perks' career. We know what he did. Like 2016, he just came on to the LEC and started smoking everybody with Trick, and you know the aggressiveness of their approach in their off seasons as well. I think was spearheaded by Perks and also not, of course. And Perks was insane for the longest duration. Even as an AD, the role swap once again was absolutely insane. But even the 2021 year on C9. His bad plays are stood out, whether it was like not Tryndamere ulting or his Renekton. But he also made quarters at Worlds with the North American team. He won the split. Like he rose to the occasion when it was necessary and did so with the roster that, you know, at an international stage people didn't expect much out of. So even that year I think is like extremely underrated. He came back at the super teams that didn't work on Vitality, but I just think it was more connected to the changing of times rather than him. Like he couldn't do what he did in past teams the same way, and couldn't piece it together, because I think that he needed to put a lot more focus on his individual play rather than doing, you know, the chess moves within the team to make everyone, you know, just rally around him. But I do think Perks is very underrated.
No, the funny thing is, I actually think that that's actually an area I think people like Perks and Zhao who share a similar sentiment, right? Which is one of the careers I think is beautiful in League. It's just sadly that 2021 Worlds, FPX fucked up the group stage and really tragically. Look, shout out to Tian. He was definitely a big part of that. But one thing I always thought was amazing about Doinby's career is Doinby went from mainly just this captain shot caller figure to he put loads of effort in those last couple of years, mate, on his individual like laning and shit. And he got like way better individually. And it meant that towards the end of his career, sadly, they fucked up that 2021 Worlds. He could have won as like the star, not just like the one telling everyone else what to do. But the problem is, people like Perks and Zhao who they got way too much into that identity of like, I'm the captain and the one who makes this macro call. And it's like they forgot that you have to also be really good in fucking lane, and you have to be really good like individual mid laner, because that will then like amplify those extra skills that you have. So I know what you mean, because by the end, Perks just went way too far on the idea that like, if I make one amazing macro call at the end of the game, we win the game. Whereas it's like, mate, why are you in that position every game? If you realize if you were just up in CS every game in mid lane and you had strong power picks, you wouldn't need to make a hero call. Like, you would just win a normal game where you're the one that goes to the Baron and they have to do the flip and the crazy dive in smite. Like, I know what you mean. Some players, like, they just take for granted like a strength. And I always think if you lean on a strength, like, then your weakness is what always kills you. You know what I mean? Whereas if you notice the great players, you work on your weakness. That way you don't have a weakness. You know, once you get that to a certain level, your strength just takes over and you win. You can't be beaten.
And that's why you and I, we love Rookie. That's why we love Rookie. He keeps doing his shit, you know? He keeps doing his shit no matter what, man. He's
I mean, I will say it, bearing in mind, look, obviously no fan's going to care until he does it in the playoffs and makes the finals or something. But again, if you just look in the regular season, he is unironically one of the better mid laners in the LPL again. And boys, he's now been in China for 10 years. Like, this longevity is crazy. Because again, he isn't. Here's the difference, Yamato. Notice we've never said any of those things. He's never tried to be. I'm the shot caller. I time fucking flash timers for people. I put my arms around everyone. Hey, guys, I love you. I really believe in you. No, Rookie's style is like, watch how I play Orianna. Now follow me. Like, that's not. He's like a traditional carrier in that sense. And by the way, Rookie in that sense is just like Ronaldo. He just tries to score the 2 goals every game, mate. You figure the rest out. You figure out the defensive play and the build. I just score my 2 goals every game, and if you do your job, maybe we can win.
Well, I wanted to say exactly the same. Ronaldo was what came to mind, 100%.
Yeah. Because it's the same attitude even, isn't it? Like, they both just believe they can still be the best or something crazy. Whether they're right or wrong, I sort of admire the balls to go for it, though. And they seem like, by the way, they also seem like they both put in the hours to always get their game into shape again, which is mad respectable.
Right. Group.
Yeah, I know that fucking what's it. By the way, every time that comes up, I'm going to bring it up because I noticed one, I still don't know who that group is, but two, it has some very interesting opinions about League of Legends. Like, there seems to be a lot of noobs in there. Like, are people just bringing their granddad into the WhatsApp group? What's going on here? They're all boomers in there or something. Because, mate, I know I've just nailed it. Now I've realised why it sounds so wrong, Yamato. Because WhatsApp isn't even some Zoomer shit. This isn't like TikTok. When you say WhatsApp League of Legends group, it sounds like you're saying like a boomer Facebook group in your community, like, and it's like your granddad, like, these bloody foreigners. Like, that's what it's like. Who's in this group? Who the fuck uses WhatsApp? Like, we do it in the UK, but is that an American thing? Does anyone use WhatsApp? Does anyone? I don't know, mate. I don't know.
It has to be like a marketing
I
scheme,
know.
right?
That's why we need someone to infiltrate. Is this real? Is it even going on? What is the WhatsApp?
No, like WhatsApp has to be paying for this. It has to.
Of course, yes.
Because it's the same. I noticed on the LEC, they had an ad. Right. Join the LEC WhatsApp community. I was like, oh, now it makes sense. This is paid for. This is Zuckerberg work. They're trying to make WhatsApp communities a thing where like you can just reach people on instant messages. They're trying really hard to make it a thing. I'm never joining that group. That's for sure.
I know, it's mental, isn't it? It's just so mad. Well, you know what, Yamato? Speaking of understanding youth culture and being down with the kids, I actually have a recommendation for this generation. And no, I'm not doing that thing that's normally done where the older people all lecture you and tell you how you have to live. I'm going to give you a little bit of a hack. I'm going to give you a little bit of riz that you can use on life and your relationships to get into a better place. Because what do you guys always say you want to do? What's the coolest thing you could do? Aura farming. Well, you know what? If you want to aura farm, get some aura frames. Because actually, one of the coolest things about aura, if you don't know, is when you actually create in your friends and family and your relatives a feeling that because you performed a certain gesture, they like you more and think you're cooler, that's real aura right there. That's exactly the sort of thing you want. That's not some cheap, sort of fleeting sensation of just seeming cool in an Instagram picture and people hitting a like. This is actually the people in your life appreciating you. And if you get an aura frame, one of the coolest things is it's really easy to set up. It just takes a couple of minutes basically to set up for them. Also, you can basically everything's stored in the cloud. You just put a bunch of photos remotely on there. Your grandma, whatever's getting it updated in her frame. She's getting to enjoy it like that. By the way, in this sense, listen to Onk. And you'll realize that what I'm saying is right. And you'll be like, wow, even though he is older than me, he is like me, for real, for real. And then basically, that's what your older family members can think. They can see you living your life coming up, having, relationships, different activities, trying to look smart, get your own personality, your own look. And they'll think, oh, wow, chip off the old block. I remember when I was like that, when I was a kid and they had old penny farthing bikes or whatever the fuck, and everyone rode dinosaurs to school back in the olden days. So you can do that. Also, I'm not glazing when I go on about this product, but an alternative meaning of the word glazing is to install Windows in a way by getting the Aura frame and then connecting it to a cloud and putting all your latest photos on there. Aren't you providing a window into your life in some ways? So listen, I'm doing some good work here. It's all good. Go ahead and do that. And also, they have all shit like it has like smart cropping to detect where the face is in the image. It can actually technically play video as well if people don't like up to 30 seconds of little video. You could have a pet or a kid or some funny moment where you're on a roller coaster or whatever. And I actually think, as I say, that the coolest angle about this gift is just that it's really easy to set up, but it's a way to keep people who aren't physically close to you in the sense that they know what's going on in your life and that they get the update of what's happening with your photos, even though they might be an older person who might never use Instagram. So if you would like to aura farm in this sense, relive your favorite memories by visiting auraframes.com. And for a limited time, listeners of this show can get $35 off their best-selling carver mat frame. That is AURA frames.com. Promo code, it's easy to remember, it's just summoning. SUMMONING. Support the show by mentioning us at the checkout. Offers vary based on country. Terms and conditions apply, blah, 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 all the rest of it. So that's actually auraframes.com, promo code summoning, $35 off the carver mat frame. I have one of these. I actually genuinely, I agree with what Monty told me years ago. Even if we weren't sponsored, I would actually still tell people from the one I have about this. I think it's actually a baller, like, quality of life upgrade you can give. And as I always point out, I actually think, whether you believe me or not, that people who are like older relatives will actually be really fucking receptive if you give them this sort of gift. I think they will actually think it'll pull their heartstrings a bit, mate. They'll know that you, in a way, you want to include them in your life. Except, don't worry, I'm not saying that they actually have to come round every week. You just put some latest photos in there, and then they get to see what you're up to, and they get to go, see, even though he is just playing the video all the time, he maybe isn't a worthless piece of shit, my grandson. Look, they'll be wrong, but you know what? You trick them. There you go. Get the right frame. Trick them immediately. $35 off the trick. Shout out to our frames. Right, okay. I reckon we just do a little 5 minutes, then do some Q&A to wrap.
Sounds good.
Back in a minute, boys. Right, we are here for the final segment, which anyone who's a long-time viewer will know is obviously viewer questions. You ask the viewer questions by being a subscriber to the Last Free Nation Discord, and then there is a channel within the crewmate section where basically it says like SI questions, and you just submit your questions there. If you don't want us to read your name out, then just say that in the comment, and we will take care of it. So, the first question of the show, this is a mad one, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway. Big Boy says, do you think there's any truth to the fan theory that Riot is purposely trying to run the LTA into the ground so it can die quicker than it otherwise would? Okay. I haven't even heard that theory, but okay, I'm going to put it to you, Matt. What do you think of this theory?
Honestly, I've had the same thought cross my mind. Because think about it. Some of these decisions have been so damn ridiculous. And at this point, the only partners that truly just matter, right? It's like just looking at what the LTA is as a product. It's like, bro, we even forgot talking about LTA on the show. Like we didn't even talk about the region. We forgot. It's like, I realize now that we forgot. It's like, oh, wow, Team Liquid looked bad against C9.
There wasn't that much to talk about. That's the issue.
It's like, oh, FlagWest looked ugly against this team. It's like, yeah, because they have nothing to care about because the format sucks. Right. It's honestly, with the rebranding and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of FlagWest, C9, Team Liquid just hoping to merge together with the next region. They're gonna move into the LEC and move somehow, because like the tragic aspect about the LTA is that they kind of need to keep it alive because it's right next to their offices and it's just tied together. This is like their flagship product, like that's the opening product. But I can give credence to that idea because some of these decisions are impossible to rationalize. Like the rebranding to the LTA makes absolutely no sense. Like that could be like the type of shit, it's like in Rambo 2, It's like when he like, oh, we never meant to extract him. We're gonna leave him behind. It's like, what you promised. It's like, no, we don't want anyone to know about the prisoners of war in Vietnam. It's like that's pretty much what some of these decisions were. So I can give credence to that theory. A little LTA cabal, that are just making their own decisions. Like FlagWest, C9, Team Liquid just want the everything to dissolve. I could see it. Because look at the other regions. We see hints of it. Like LPL. Splitting, that's the first, like, franchising didn't work out. We're going to make it tier 1, tier 2, you're tier 2. Even worse, we're going to relegate 2 teams. You're not going to even play summer. Like, they're trying to push these teams out, making it financially impossible to stay. It's like, we're not even playing. Like, we're in LDL now? What the hell?
I will just say this. Like, in terms of, like, is it possible? I think Riot is generally a fairly shady company, in my opinion. Like, I do think they're one of those ones that has more the mentality of, like, not, is what I'm about to do right or wrong? I think they do think of, like, can I get away with it? Will anyone even know? I think that is something they maybe think of more. With that said, though, Yamato, the problem with this question is this. If it was in any way true that it is actually that Riot basically don't give a fuck and want to sort of run LT into the ground, if any journalist ever somehow got internal comms that could confirm that, it would actually be one of the biggest stories ever in esports. Because I can tell you right now, that would be an enormous lawsuit from all the teams against Riot. Because remember, not only did you have to buy in for like $10 million, but remember, people like EG bought their slot for something like 30 million or something crazy like that, mate. Like, people have paid a lot of money. And then if you remember the numbers I revealed during that LCS walkout from like 2 years ago or whatever, as I pointed out, One of the problems was everyone was burning millions of dollars every year running their LCS team. So if you were someone like a Cloud9 or an Evil Geniuses, you could come and say, mate, I might have spent like $40 million on this. And what, you were a bad faith partner of mine who weren't even planning this to be a long-term league. And in fact, you maybe even got sick of running it and you thought, I'll just let it tank. Basically a bit like when people don't give a fuck about a roster in sports. And then I'll just, I'll sell it off. I guess like that would be mega egregious. With that said, I know what you mean. The decisions they have made are beyond baffling. But it's one of the rare cases. I, in general, don't actually subscribe to that famous theory that goes, you should always assume stupidity rather than malice. I think a lot of times it is malice and people are doing like conspiracies. In Riot's case, though, I also think they're incredibly incompetent. Like, I think they put the wrong people in charge. I'll even give you an analogy. I even think they've done a mistake in terms of people in charge of LTA that reminds me of coaches in LEC, which is where you get the coaching gig for a bad team. So because it's a bad team and you're just a guy who's just been given the gig, you don't have 3 years to turn the program around. You have to make a whole bunch of gambles in that split or that season to keep your job. I also feel like they've put different people in charge of LTA, LCS, and that person just doesn't have 5 years to turn it around. They have to do something this split, some weird format change, viewership change. They have to do something just to try and make the numbers seem like they go up so they can get a chance for next year. And as people have obviously seen in coaching, that seems like it doesn't really work. Like, that short-term approach generally nearly always backfires and just kills you. Like, even if in the short term you make a little improvement, you're not making the big changes you need to become ultimately better. So I don't hate it as a theory. Obviously, we'll never find out, sadly. We'll never get the info on that one. It'll always be a mystery, won't it? Here's an interesting question. Milkman22 says, what are some of the non-esports job you had before your career took off? What was your favorite or least favorite job? And if you had to work a normal job right now, what would you choose? So first part, do you have any jobs you had before esports or during esports that you did that were good or bad?
So I worked a couple. It's like in Sweden, it's very common to just pick up a summer job. Like this was very common at every age. Like you just work a summer job. Like I worked in a restaurant that sucked ass, just wiping tables. That's something I would never want to do. That is one of the I have so much respect for anyone that does that every day, because that really can break you, because you need to smile and just do everything in a very certain way. You don't get any sense of privacy, and you need to really, really hold on to everything in a scenario that in some cases when people are rude can be very degrading, but the best one I ever had was I took care of basically in Swedish the word is idrottsplan, but basically it's like a bunch of football fields, and I was responsible to cut the grass and to redraw the lines, and that was I could see myself doing that on the daily, because I just had my lawnmower. I could do it.
Was it kind of soothing? Did you enjoy it?
It was so peaceful, because I was in the sun. Okay. I was completely alone, and I was in nature, and I could the smell of fresh grass, and then the meditation of drawing the lines was also something that was just amazing. So thinking back to that, it's I made €400 a month, and I had to do that 5 days a week, but I loved it so much. And then it's the people that were there was nice, and then always I could go to basically the shop of the football field, and I just always got an ice cream. My memories, those some of my best memories before esports. So definitely that one.
The problem is, because I really am, this is one of the areas, I'll give you a random aside, right? Okay. It goes like this, Yamato. There's a type of person who, no matter what I say, always tries to gaslight me that I never did anything in my career, mate. So it's the idea of you think you're a legend. You were never even a player. Well, you think you're important. No one even knows you. And it's the reason why all these are all nonsense is, bro, I have literally worked full time in the esports industry. Every word I say right now is very carefully chosen. I have worked full time in the esports industry since 2001. I've literally supported myself on my income from esports for 24 years. Now, you can pick all the people you think are more legendary than me. Almost none of them can say that statement. It's why when I say the following statement, right, which is, you see in the modern day, when you have these esports awards, in the same as there's Hall of Fames, they have that thing, Lifetime Achievement Award, and they give it out to all these legendary players, industry figures, right? If I say I should win that, Yamato, people would laugh. Who do you think you are? I literally put my entire adult life into this industry. And the joke is my adult life is longer than some of your lives watching this show, but my entire thing was dedicated to esports. So basically, I've actually had very few real life jobs ever, mate. One of the few jobs I had was when I was a teenager, I did just have a paper round. I did the one where you get on your bike and you go to the shop and you pick up the 30 papers and you put that thing over. Even then, you learn as a young man sort of how like occupational injuries occur. Because I did the classic move everyone does. You have a preferred shoulder, but then after a few months, it's getting a bit aching, that you've sort of overworked the muscles there. You have to swap the bag over to the other side and readjust your balance, And here's the problem. Because I was always Thorin on some level, even before I was called Thorin, I was always Thorin at heart. I even did it in a cynical way. I did my paper round. I did it as well as I could. At Christmas time in the UK, famously, you give paper round, you get a tip. People who do the round for regularly will give you a little envelope, or they'll come into the shop and give say £2 back in the day, or £5 if you're really lucky. They'll give you that. But they give you it, Yamato, in a way to sort of encourage you to do a really good job next year and to thank you for the job you did this year. Now, what they didn't know is this, Yamato. I did my paper round, but I knew about this thing that at Christmas they give you the tips. So I purposely waited until Christmas, got all the tip money, added all that earned and the tip money together, and I had just enough money to buy a Nintendo 64 with GoldenEye, and then I just quit being a paper boy. So if you gave me that fiver thinking, well, no, he'll do a good job next year. No, because all I'm doing next year, mate, is I'm on odd job slapping motherfuckers on that temple map or something. Or I wasn't even doing paper. So I haven't had many jobs, thankfully. I've done some jobs in esports that suck. I've actually had some jobs where even though they sounded classy, like editor-in-chief, sometimes because you just have to get certain work done. Or I have done literally thousands of hours of manual data entry, by the way. The most boring thing you can do. As in, stuff that now an AI bot would do. I had to manually enter scores of FIFA matches for SK Gaming, while it's happening on a scoreboard, an update, he scored from a free kick, right, 2-1. I had to do that. So I've had some jobs that sucked, but thankfully I haven't had many. What about the other one there, though? If you had to, get a real job now, a normal job, he says, is the one you'd choose? Can you think of something you would choose to do in the real world if you had to, if esports was over tomorrow?
I would probably I have an immense knowledge of trading card games. I would probably pull together whatever money I earned and try to make it in basically the board game, card game genre, open up shop and do something locally and basically trade and buy cards online and go to road shows.
Okay.
Because this to me is a very big personal interest, so it would be a smooth transition just to stay afloat.
Okay.
But I've also considered just going into trade work, because just go and become an electrician. I wouldn't mind this at all. I think it's very respectable work and anything that would just put food on the table. Because sometimes I do have there's a beauty in being on your own and working on your own business because you don't have anyone to report to, but also having set hours where everything is over. Because it's for us, there's always something chirping, It's oh, this is no story. I need to do this video. It's I can work 16 hours in a day, or I can work 2, and there is no in between. It's there's always something to do, and that really chirps at you. And most of the time, I'm very happy that's the case. But I could also sometimes see the beauty of just having, I need to be at my job at 8, be done at 5, go home, and then just let everything go. All the extra issues is somebody else's problem. I do see the beauty in that sometimes.
What's funny is, even though I would struggle to think of a normal job, because I've never done one essentially, paperboy, it's not even really a full-time job, it's just a thing you do for an hour a day, and you are just putting papers through a fucking door. It's not really rocket science, is it? Well, what's funny? I actually do think, though, Yamato, if I had to tomorrow take a normal job in an office or a restaurant or some sort of customer service, I actually think I'd be really good at it now. And the reason I say that is, one thing that I always say changed my mind, 15 years ago, is one day I just had an epiphany, which is, right, I used to have the mentality, like a lot of people when you're young, of like, listen, I wouldn't be egregious. I wouldn't like throw a can of drink that's empty on the grass. But say you just can't find a bin anywhere and you've just finished with like a tissue or something. Yeah, you might just go out, just throw it in this bush or whatever. I'll just put it on like on this other pile of crap. Then I'll just go off in the day. Because I used to think, who cares? Like, it'll get thrown in the bin. I never do that now. I never ever litter. Because the epiphany I had was, even though I don't live in a little village, if you lived in a little village, the reason you wouldn't litter is because it's your village. You live there too. You don't want the next day to see. And also, if we all agree not to litter, we live in a fucking paradise, mate. No one's throwing trash on the floor. There's bins everywhere. So similarly, I think I have that sort of mentality when it comes to like quality of work that you do. Like one thing I do get annoyed by, Yamato, is when people do things like, you know, when they have like a restaurant, but like you go and sit down and then they're really slow to come over and say, oh, hey, do you want to eat? You want to drink? So I think small things like that, from being on the customer side myself, I would, if I did a normal job, that's where I would put my effort to get satisfaction. I think I would try and make the actual like the user end experience so much smoother and cleaner and nicer. I mean, I'll give you a random example. If you go to Korean barbecue, bro, the amount of times I've gone to Western Korean barbecues and the person just almost acts like you're in McDonald's, like, oh, here's your seat, press that button to order. But they don't tell you any of the basic things that's going to make your experience better. Like if you've never been to Korean barbecue, that's the first thing you should ask is, have you ever been before? Because if you haven't, you might not even know the basics, bro. You might not even know that, like, right, when you cook galbi, have some samjang with it, that sauce. Or you know what, if you want to give some variety, maybe try taking the lettuce leaf and putting the meat in there and then putting a bundle together and eat it like that. Like essentially simple things like this that seem so small, I think it adds so much to the user experience if you actually just like meet the person halfway on that shit. And I think people in general, the problem is most stores now, you are just a guy working for a faceless corporation. You don't take pride in your job. But I like the idea that whatever job you do, you should be like conscientious about it. You should care about how it's done. You should have like an appreciation for the process. You should want the other person to have a great experience and give them the best. You should give them tips and things. I think this, so essentially, I don't know what gig it would be. I said, I guess I could do a normal gig, but I could be a cafe or, like I said, just work as a server. But if I did, I would try to make it so I wasn't phoning it in. I would try to make it like I'm sort of adding value to the experience as I do it. Because I do think that's one area I think is mad underrated. I hate when people don't do that shit. I even do shit now, mate. I'll give you a random aside. I even do shit now where I think I'm like a hero, but I'm probably just annoying the fuck out of people. Like, do you want to know what one of our biggest pet peeves ever is? You know when a plane, you'll have had this a million times, mate. You know when the plane lands and all those people behind you in the plane rush to try and get out in front of you, even though you're in front of them? Right, I hate that so much about that. Initially, what I started doing, you'll see what I'm getting at the point here. Initially, I just started defending myself. Like what I do is, the second the plane stops, I don't rush to get up. But because you can't go past me yet, because the line hasn't started moving, I just get all my stuff ready, nice and leisurely. I get it all ready. I get my stuff packed away. The second the line moves, here's what I do. Here's the pro move. Go home. You can try this. I don't just stand up. I stand up, and since I'm ahead of you, I move out with my arm like this, and I put it across the seat so you can't go past. And then I take my bag out, I take whoever's in my row with me, we go out, totally fair, first on, last off, that's how it should work logically. But I'd go one further now. I even do that for people in front of me, Yamato. You know when you get like an old woman who's like intimidated, you can tell she doesn't want to like rush out and have someone push past her, or she thinks, oh, I'll just wait till the end. Oh, if I'm doing this, by the way, and I get out myself and I see her 2 rows in front, I'll just stop there and go, do you want to come off? And I'll make everyone behind me wait like a fucking legend. I'm like fucking Moses or something, mate. Let my people go. I'm letting this old woman off. It's the hero, of course. I actually do think that shit matters. I hate when people just act like it's a free-for-all the world and you just don't give a fuck. So if I do a normal job, I'd try and do something. It sounds bad because you think not for my persona, but I'd actually try to make like everyone's experience cooler within the job I do.
Yeah.
Obvious, listen.
I'm with you 100%, by the way, bro.
Yeah.
I think it's like, if you ever do anything, by the way, if you ever do anything, that if everyone did it, the world would fall apart. I just think you're a piece of shit.
I agree.
If you have the ego to think that you're so different, like, what the fuck are you doing with your life, you know? And that plane thing, the craziest thing is, I had my flight here to Sweden, I had the opposite. I had an experience where basically I'm sitting on like row 18 out of 30. And the lady that is sitting to my left, she's just letting everyone pass. And I'm just going insane. I'm like, you have the right to stop them. You are. This is plain etiquette. Come on. It's like, same. It's like, if someone sits If I don't sit in the center, if I sit on the left or the right side, bro, I'm not gonna take the arm rest in the middle. That's for the person in the middle. You know, there's just etiquette that you need to go by, man. And that one about the plane really pisses me off. And I do the exactly same thing. I block people, bro. They ain't getting past. It's like I wait. I do that thing too. We are superheroes, Thorin.
Without making a whole side topic, actually, planes in particular, I actually think that employees of planes should be taught the way we're talking about. Because the employee of the plane can also, by the way, make this 1,000 times easier. Like, I'll tell you an obvious thing I think every airport should have, Yamato. I think they should literally have people in the baggage carousel who enforce standing behind that line. I hate it when it says on the floor, stand behind. If you don't know, by the way, guys, they've mathematically figured out that if everyone's behind that line, we can all see the bags. But if everyone individually selfishly steps forwards to see the bags, no one can see the bags. And that's just stupid, isn't it? Because in that scenario, it's not even efficient. You don't actually get your bag quicker. You just block me seeing my bag and an old woman getting in there and getting hers out. Like, stuff like that. It might sound like a minor complaint, but I think it's so easy to solve that problem. You just need to care.
Let me add another one. Because we went to this.
Yeah, go for
I think the way they board planes is so
There's
damn
another
dumb.
one.
Like, what on earth are we doing with boarding the front of the plane first and then going backwards? It's like the grouping should be based on the position. You know? It's like they should have window seats go first, and then you do it like by one number, you know? It's like with one jump, so there's like space for everyone to go, and that should be the grouping. What is this boarding system? Like, how many hours have been lost? There's like billions of hours lost. Because of stupid boarding.
Absolutely. Anyway, we'll save some because there's a million plane-related ones. Anyone who's ever travelled in esports, everyone's got pet peeves about all the travel shit. Don't worry about that. Right, here's another question, though. Tallahassee Riot Supervisor says Rookie's teams over his career have overall been lackluster. Is there a specific jungler or other player you wish he could have played with? So is there anyone in his career you wish Rookie had played with? Someone who stands out for you?
Ooh. Trying to think back. You know, it's just like my mind instantly goes to like the teams that won the World Championship, and if Rookie was on this team, could he succeed too? Thinking about like an EDG 2021, something like this, you know. Any junglers that stand out, like I do think that Rookie is the one that thrives with, you know, like if it would be like a Karsa, Tian, in that direction, like Peanut.
He had it, bro. He had Tian and Karsa, though, didn't he?
Oh, shit.
Well, at least he had Tian. Did he have Karsa? I think he did, didn't he? Wasn't that like V5? Wasn't he in V5? I'm just double checking. I know he had Tian because he was obviously in top esports with him. Let me double check.
Oh, did he get benched mid-year? He did get benched mid-year, Karsa.
Right? Yeah, in V5 he had Karsa.
Oh man.
Yeah, he had these guys.
Oh no, my Rookie glass house is being shattered. What, Thorin? He had good teammates? No.
Yeah, but they also, this is the splits they were dodgy. They were dodgy this one. It's all good.
Well, and then he got to play with JJ as well. And when I mentioned EDG 2021, it's just screwed. It's just screwed. I guess the main thing, if anything, is just like it would be interesting to see Rookie if he at some point went back to Korea and played with some of the Korean junglers. I think that's like the only thing that would be missing, right?
Yes. No, here's the sad thing. The real sad thing is, obviously, one of them I would have picked in the past would have been fucking Mako. Because think about it, right? I always thought support was one of the dodgiest positions in all the teams Rookie was in. And then Mako has this rep of like he's a captain and a shot caller and a really responsible support player. I always thought what a great fuck. And in the modern day as well, in the era after Rookie won Worlds, the whole game's been about the idea that like jungle, mid and support are sort of its own combination. And he always had sus players there. So sadly, the Mako one hasn't worked out yet. I know what you mean because those are players. If I have to think of other players, I think you nailed it on the last one there. It's people who stayed back in Korea, mate. I would like to have seen this guy play. Like, imagine him with Canyon. Mate, peak Rookie with Canyon. Like, you go back to, like, if you want to take, like, a 2020, 2021, when Canyon was hitting his stride, these guys would cook if they played together, mate. They'd be unbelievable. So there's one. I don't know for jungle that much, but I'm trying to think on other roles. An obvious one for me, again, would be, I would like, look, he's doing it now, but he hadn't for the rest of his career. The obvious angle is, give me a top laner that's really responsible, mate. Not some, like, super fucking high-fee guy like the Shy. Like, if you give me peak Keen, there's a good one. I mean, who else am I taking for this sort of role? By the way, I mean, if we're talking about a few years ago, I mean, technically they did make that swap. Here's the problem as well. Rookie, this is why, Yamato, you are right and wrong. He has had really good teammates, but holy fuck is he unlucky. Because remember, one of the classic ones that people always used to say was like, let me just double check. I'm almost certain they played together, this guy. Let me just check. Oh, he didn't actually. I was thinking of Knights. Bro, people now won't even remember this player was very good, but there were a couple of years where Zoom on JDG was really good. And I always thought back then, he looked like the perfect top laner to play with me. He'd play all the tanks and the bruisers. He just played like a really concept. I always wanted him to play with someone like that. So like essentially I'm taking problems away from Rookie. And now if Rookie is the best player, then he smurfs the game and he carries the whole match. Because aside from that, I know what you mean. Like actually it's kind of wild because there's not as many players as I thought. I was thinking there'd be a list of 10 names. There's not really, is there? And
some of the other ones if I had to pick one. It would be like, imagine if Rookie was on KT 2018. They just put Rookie together with Score.
Oh, right. I mean, that'd be the greatest lineup on paper
all those
time,
years.
Yeah.
Like he would just have Rookie with Score.
Sure, that's a good one.
He just stuck around and was on KT during this entire time. That would have been fucking crazy.
Right. What about? Right. This is a weird question. I'll ask it. The dog says at the end of the year, who should anyone's legend try and get? So I think he essentially means like, should they try and upgrade? Is there a player they should go for? It's an interesting question. They're certainly in a position where they might do it. Is there a position you'd try and upgrade or change in anyone's legend?
I think if anything, like looking at this team as well as Flandre has played this year, I do think that the way he plays has an expiration date.
Yeah.
And if a player like Ben wants to move on, like you need to fucking strike. Like you really, really need to. Because in the end, it's like we are looking at everything in a short-term basis over like we look at everything through the lens of one split. But if you zoom out, Ben still is one of the greatest top lanes of all time. And this is the type of player that if Billy don't achieve what they want to achieve and he's available, this is where you need to potentially make an upgrade. Because I do think Flandre is good in very specific niches, but outside of those niches, you need to have players that are well-rounded, especially if Fearless is here to stay. I think the rest of the roster is something that is worth to build on. And more than anything, you need to do everything you can to keep Tarzan on this roster, because I think there's a world where there's going to be a massive bidding war for Tarzan if it comes into next year. I don't know what the contract situation is. So maybe someone's going to say, well, the contract is signed to 2027. Well, that's okay. Then that's what it is. But next off season, I think teams will want to have Tarzan. If any of the Korean teams want to make upgrades, Tarzan is like one of the only few people that can be that guy. Whether you would put him next to BDD or you put him on a team like Hanwha Life. Like if Hanwha Life had Tarzan, mind-blowing.
I know what you mean, like the obvious angles for me, because I think that is the most obvious position to upgrade is top lane. Because Flandre's really long in the tooth, and a lot of how he wins now is like veteran play. So if that would be the obvious position. Think how many talented top lanes there are in the LPL where you could get an even better player there and have more of like a carry threat potential. Mate, there's plenty of players you could put in this mixture. I mean, an obvious one to me, if he wants to lead the team, 369 from Top Esports. It's a very good fucking player. Like I can imagine him being awesome with Shanks. I think to myself, even as some of the ones that are like more on the out, even look, I get that he's lost his job and he had some drama on him. I thought Arley from JDG was a very good player, mate. That was a player who clearly had ceiling and peaks where he could be excellent. You know what? He's forgotten about now because his team sucks, but even Zeke from LNG, last few years, this guy was one of the better fucking players in the role. So, no, you could make some moves if you want to change up the squad. Those are the most obvious ones. To me, the most obvious positions to replace is either top or ADC. I think the rest of the team's dynamite. You don't touch jungle, mid, and support if you can. You leave those players.
Just replace Hope again with the best current ADC. Like a ruler takes his spot again.
Yeah. Why not? I'm also low-key amazed, by the way, that we don't get more of the other direction happen anymore. Like, I actually did think that some of the LCK people who just don't win anymore would do the other thing and go to LPL or go back. Like, I know aiming used to be the LPL. Why doesn't aiming just go to the LPL, mate? Like, you're wasting your time in LCK. Like, you're not going to get on a T1 or something. They don't value like that, unfortunately. And your best rosters are a couple of years ago now. You're just not going to get... If I was someone like him, mate, I'd be going and trying to join, like, any team in the fucking Ascend group, basically. Like, you can cook if you're in certain roles. And by the way, if there's one thing they know how to fucking play around in LPL, it is Korean ADCs, mate. You just walk in and they're like, welcome to ADC land. We will be healing for you, sir, and diving in, and you will be playing Zaya. Like, yeah, great. Load it up. Load the game up, mate. Load that up. Right, let's do one last question. The last question will be this. Nadnerb says, who was the more OP EU import? Huni or Trick? Interesting question.
I think Huni, the main issue, I guess, with like the Trick is the fact that he had some competitors, because Spirit came at the same time. I think the Trick was insane for G2, but I don't think that he warped the whole region the same way. Because I was competing against Huni and competing against Trick at the same time. Our jungler needed to learn so much from Spirit and Trick, so it was a little bit different. But Huni made the whole region not only... He didn't make the region only about top lane. He made the whole region about himself. Like, everyone learned from him. I think that he was so far ahead of his time. I think that he was one of the greatest players in the world at the time. Because even when they made the World Championship bid, like, Huni was absolutely insane. And he was also doing well in that best of 5 that they lost against SKT in the end. I think Huni was so much better than everybody else. It's ridiculous to even... There's no point of measurement. Like, he was so much better than everybody. He made fun of all of your favorite top laners. He made fun of everybody.
Actually going to disagree on this one. Even though I get that angle, the reason I'm going to say Trick is because there's like a hidden ripple effect, which is, I actually do think that if you don't get Trick, you don't get Perks in the same way. Because Perks, the cool thing about his career was, he learned from Trick and Mithy in terms of jungle and support, and they taught him a lot about how the game's played. And so if you want, because later, the joke in later teams is, he took that learning, and then he was the Trick or the Mithy in like the super team, and he was adding that magic. Like, I think everyone gets it now, that like, look, the other players were incredible players at their roles in the G2 super team, but Perks was what added the fairy dust that made it that amazing squad. And part of that, as far as I can tell, comes from being mentored by like Trick early. Because remember, when he first had Trick and it was just him and Trick with like the bot lane no one remembers, Hybrid and Emperor, all they used to do back then was Trick basically just taught him like, this is when you dive side lanes. If you go at this point in time, you dive in now and you get a free kill, and then your head is in mid laner. You don't have to solo kill the mid laner. Come and do this with me at the right time, and it will accelerate the map. Then he got Mithy, who taught him like map setups and split the map and all that shit, you know. So I think it's one of those ones where I'm kind of cheating because I'm not going direct off how they played. Like, I agree, Huni was like potentially the best player in Europe at the time. The difference is though, I think Trick did have mad impact on the region though. Like, I don't know if we have the same success if a player like that doesn't come along, you know.
Stayed way longer too, and like even went into coaching in the end. Like he stuck around
Still around
for
now,
a very,
in
very
theory,
long
right?
time. Yeah. He's keeping
Still around
busy
now.
even now.
Right,
Like,
that will be it.
Yeah.
That'll be it for this week. We will be back next week. We will talk about LTA. We will, by the way, we'll talk about WASD. There's just some things weren't as pressing. We'll get to them on the next one, on the next episode of Summoning Insight.